Boom! Welcome to the Launch Masterclass. This is lesson 2. I'm pumped to be here. We're in the thick of it now. Yesterday, well, it was an awesome experience for me because of you, because of all the comments and the feedback coming in. It was absolutely amazing for me. I think we went, so yesterday I said maybe 2.5, 3 hours. I think it was 3.5 hours. Sorry about that, but we got so many great questions from you, and I went so deep on them that we went long. I hope that was okay. It was, like I said, it ended, and I was like so energized, so incredibly energized because of you and your participation in all those comments. I know there's well over 2,000 comments. That was awesome. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So we're going to get rolling. In just a second, I'm going to go back to the main set, and we're going to dig in deep to the 3 primary types of launches. We got a lot of ground to cover. We actually have more ground to cover today than we did yesterday. So this is my little preamble just because I want to set it all up for you. So I'm looking at my notes here. First of all, just some housekeeping. Turn off your distractions. If you were here with me yesterday, say, hey, I was here yesterday, but you know that we're going to go deep. This isn't some transparent sales pitch. I went deep yesterday. I'm going to get even more tactical today. So turn off all those distractions. Close the door. Turn off your phone. Just focus in. Close your email program. Close all those other messages. Just focus, because this is the week to change your life. We are going to have another super secret segment. People were pretty stoked on yesterday's super secret segment. We have something completely different for you in today's super secret segment. And for those of you just tuning in, don't know what I'm talking about, what I'm talking about is you'll get your best experience if you're here with me live. And so my carrot to try to get you live is there is going to be a segment in here today in this broadcast that you will see if you're live, but we'll cut out of the recording. So you have to be here live to get the super secret segment. Questions. Put your questions, put your comments. It feeds me, it feeds the energy. But also, as you saw yesterday, I'm taking questions all the way through, and we've been going deep on those questions. We are going to have an after-hours show with Barry. We'll talk about that later. If I forget, remind me to mention that one. Wherever you're watching us, I know we've got some people watching this on Facebook. Some people are watching the concierge page. The concierge page is the best experience. You can get there by going to productlaunchformula.com and send your friends there. Share with your friends. Hit that share button, but go to Product Launch Formula, because that's where you will get the download. That's where my coaches are in the comments answering questions. So go to Product Launch Formula for the absolute best experience you can have. I think that's all I've got. Dan, have I forgotten anything at all?
No, I think let's get rolling.
Let's get rolling. We are going to go deep. We're going to get tactical. You're going to love this. We're going to talk about your launch path. So here we go. Buckle your seatbelts. "2020 hasn't been the year that any of us expected. Things that seemed so secure at the start of the year seem a lot less sure right now. But every challenge has the seeds of opportunity inside it. And this crisis is no different. Now is the time to lean in. I've been through crisis before. I know that first you survive, and then you thrive. I'm Jeff Walker, and for 15 years, I've been teaching people how to launch, how to create and grow their online businesses. And now, over the next week, I want to show you why now is the best time to launch. Welcome to the Launch Masterclass, because it's time to launch. Welcome to Lesson 2, Launch Masterclass. This is all about your launch path. We're going to go into the 3 primary types of launches and help you pick out the one that is going to work for you. So what is a launch? I'm going to just a quick review of yesterday. So the deal is if you want to have an online business and all the freedom, the lifestyle, the income, the impact, and the security that brings you, if you want to have that, whether you're just starting out, whether you just have this dream of having an online business, or whether you've got an online business and you'd like to see it grow in a big way, or maybe you're a one-on-one practitioner and you're trying to figure out how to move online in these COVID days, or maybe you're an artist or an author. You want to have that online presence because the internet is still open for business. And internet businesses are thriving now more than ever. In the midst of pandemic, well, we've all seen that online has been the answer this year. And online education has become the new norm. So if you want a business built in this industry, then you need to launch. You need to launch. Because if you just put something out there, if you just spend a whole bunch of time in creating a product and then you hope it sells, that doesn't work. Hope marketing doesn't work. A structured launch works, and I'm going to show you how to do that. I have been teaching how to do these launches. I've been developing this formula. I've been teaching this formula. Well, I've been developing it for 25 years. I've been teaching it for 15 years, since October 21st, 2005. That was when I first released this training. Had 1 million people, more than 1 million people go through this free training, and a whole bunch of people go through my paid training. A much smaller number than 1 million, but collectively they've done $1 billion in sales. So nothing in here is theory. This is all proven. So just to give you the setting right now, I am this is my secret headquarters. It's a silly little name. This is not my home. This is my office, so to speak. Took all the furniture out of here. In fact, one of the questions in the comments yesterday was, why do we have carpeting on the rails of our stairs? Actually, let's go to this camera, Dan, so they can, I guess there's the carpeting's in the background. That is the big mystery here. Why is there carpeting on the railway of the stairs? And so I'll leave you guys to figure that out. We'll see if anyone can guess that. But anyways, we cleared out all the furniture. We set up this. We've got a few different cameras. We've got this camera. We've got the overhead camera. We've got the Q&A camera. We have the squirrel camera out on the deck just in case we have any wildlife visit us. Typically during these master classes, we've had squirrels and chipmunks, and there's usually deer out there, but the camera won't pick them up. In any case, it's just me and a bunch of cameras. I've got my computer here to give me notes. I've got a monitor to tell me about stuff. I have a great big team in the background. I started this literally out of my basement when I was a stay-at-home dad back in 1996, trying to take care of a couple babies and start a business for the few hours of free time I had at night. It's grown, and it's grown, and it's grown, and it's grown. It's amazing when you stick with something. Like yesterday, Elliot Connie talked about perseverance, and I guess I got a little bit of that. I've stuck with it for 25 years, and now we've built up a team, and I have this amazing team that supports me. They're virtual. They've always been virtual. I think there's around 30 of them. I can't even keep track anymore. In this HQ right now, we just have Dan, who's going to be helping me out all the way through here. You're going to be Dan's sort of my host that keeps me on track. And then we have Kristen. Normally we have got more people. This is like Masterclass Central. We've got more people, but it's COVID days, so we're social distancing. So I've just got Dan and Kristen, who is my Chief Operations Officer, who basically runs the whole show. So that's just a little bit of orientation for you. So yeah, no magic tricks. Sometimes I do go to look to see what I'm supposed to say in my notes, but as you'll see, this is very live and unscripted. Let's give you a review. This is a review, super quick review of lesson 1. We did lesson 1 yesterday. It was over 3 hours long. I taught what we call the sideways sales letter. This is the process that I've been teaching it for 15 years. This is the process people use to launch. Everyone does. Just about every top thought leader, expert, influencer, when they bring out a product, they're using this formula. And they either learned it from me, or they learned it from someone who learned it from me. Or they learned it from someone who learned it from someone who learned it from me. But I don't want to brag too much, but like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I figured this stuff out back in the 90s, started teaching it in the early 2000s. I've been teaching it since then. So basically what it is you deliver 3 pieces of value. 3, like a value video, as my friend Brendan Burchard, who I taught Brendan how to do this. And so he when he teaches it, he teaches my formula. It's awesome. It's awesome. But he calls it a value video. I call it pre-launch content. So pre-launch content, pre-launch content, pre-launch content, where the first one's all about the opportunity to change. If you're selling something, you're selling change. You're selling more pleasure or less pain. At the end of the day, that's what we're all selling. So here, you have this opportunity to change. You have the opportunity to grow a business as a cake decorator. The second one is the transformation, how their lives will transform if they become that cake decorator. And I'm using that as an example here. I could use hundreds of examples of how people have done this. The third one is taking ownership. Ownership of what that would really be like if I had this successful home cake decorating business. And oh, by the way, what it would be like if you had the course that teaches you how to be a successful home cake decorator. Then finally is enrollment. This section we didn't talk about yesterday. This is coming in tomorrow's lesson, lesson 3, the open cart. So this segment's called pre-launch. This is 7 to 10 days. In it, there's this thing called the PS path, the problem solution path. I don't have time to go to in this review, but the recordings are available for you on the concierge page, and definitely check them out. We also have these mental triggers, and I don't have time to really go deep into them, but there are things like authority, reciprocity, social proof, community, scarcity, and anticipation. So those are like this, and we actually talked about controversy a little bit yesterday too. We talked about 7 of those. So this path is the way that you can sell, the way you build anticipation, the way you turn your marketing into an event, the way you get people stoked to buy from you before you even give them a chance to buy from you, and the way you do it in a super non-slimy way that your mom and your friends would be proud to know you. That's really what this is. It's about delivering great value and developing this entire story arc up here such that people are like, hey, Jeff, just shut up and let me take my credit card. Or Kara, just here, take my credit card. I want to be a cake decorator. So that right there is the sideways sales letter. A few caveats. This isn't get rich quick. There is work involved. There is hard work involved. So it's not like I'm giving you a button to put on your social media profile and then people will push that button and money will fly out of your phone. That will not happen. I've never promised that. I never will promise that. What I'm giving you is a proven, real world process that actually works and has worked thousands of times for tens of thousands of my students. As caveat 1, caveat 2 is, as I go through here, you'll use me, there's a lot of acronyms, like PLC is pre-launch content. Another acronym you'll hear from me is PLF. That's called Product Launch Formula. So that is this formula that I'm teaching for this masterclass. We're on day 2 of this masterclass. It wraps up on Friday, so we've got a lot to come for you. We're into the thick of it. We're into the meat of it now. I'm going to be teaching my heart out for many hours here. We've got extra videos, we've got extra lives, we've got case studies. We've got all kinds of downloads, all kinds of stuff for you to get you launched between now and next Friday, the 18th. This all shuts down on Friday, the 18th. But as I go through here, you'll hear me say product launch formula, product launch formula. When I say that, I mean this formula, this process that I'm teaching through this masterclass. I also have this thing called the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program. And the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program is my paid membership coaching program. And I will be offering that, opening that registration coming up. That is part of this process. So that's how I get paid, that's how my team gets paid, but that's how I make a bigger impact on you if you're ready to dive deeper. So that's the big gotcha. If you're waiting for some monster to jump out of the closet or some big, some fine print somewhere, that's the gotcha, is I do have my Product Launch Formula Coaching Program. We're going to open registration. We typically do that once a year in September. Here's the asterisk. We did actually open it up in this past April just because it was sort of a pandemic emergency open. And you're going to be hearing a little bit more about that too today. So that's the other two gotchas. There is the monster coming out of the closet is I'm going to open up my coaching program, and this requires hard work. So those are, I think, the big gotchas. So let's just jump right into it. Are we good? We good? One other thing is when you put in comments, I can actually see them because I have an iPad here. And every time I get a break, I'm going to look at them. Another caveat is there will be, sometimes we do little film clips in here. So this is live. We are live. Like if I were to trip and fall right now, you would see me do that live. It's live, but every now and then we got a video clip or two. So here we are. Are we doing good, Dan? Have I forgotten anything?
We're doing good, although I'm a little worried about you poking the bear there about talking about things that might go wrong, so.
I was going to say, so this is the thing, is so a half hour ago I was making up all these sheets and I'm up there with marker. I got markers all over my hands. I was able to get it off even though it's permanent marker, so look at my hands are clean. But typically by this time in a launch, I have got a bunch of paper cuts. That's the big hazard of my job is getting paper cuts as I go through this thing. And so far I don't have any, so I've definitely just jinxed myself. So here we're going to talk about the three types of launches. Now, as you dig deeper, if you were to jump into the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program, there are a number of additional launches. And sometimes even in our case studies, you'll hear people mention stuff like the Quick Launch or the Sparta Launch or the Evergreen Launch. We don't have time to go into all of those, and we're not. We're going to go into the three primary ones. These are the big ones. So there is the Seed Launch. So this is for you if. This is for you if you're just starting out. If you have no list, no product, especially if you have no product, the beautiful thing is you get paid before you create the product. Sounds ridiculous, but I'm going to show you how it works. And it works. It works really, really well. This is also great if you have a current business, and there's always been this you're thinking about this product, you're thinking about this product idea, you want to do it, but you just can't seem to get yourself to sit down and actually create the product. It's a lot easier to create the product if you have gotten paid for it. Now all of a sudden you have to deliver to your clients. So Seed Launch, great if you're just starting out, and great if you have a business but you want a second offer, a new product. The internal launch, we're not going to spend that much time on it because, well, you'll see why. But the internal launch is if you have an existing offer, a business, if you have an online business, an existing offer, and you have something of an email list, then the internal launch is for you. I love internal launches. They're a thing of beauty to me. I guess I'm a geek. I actually can think that launches can be graceful and elegant. So that's the internal launch. If you have a current product and a current following, a current email list. The JV launch is the most complicated. It's the hardest. It's generally, you've done an internal launch, you have a product or an offer, and this one is where results can truly get huge, just outsized, just massive. So massive, massive results, but a more advanced strategy. and definitely more work, like significantly more work than with an internal launch. So that's why I suggest you do an internal launch and have that internal launch, then you basically end up reusing all that material in your JV launch. So that's sort of the agenda for today. We're going to walk through these three. We got a lot of ground to cover. So how about we jump right into it, and let's go to the seed launch. So what if you could start with no list and no product? So you're starting from scratch, and you can actually get paid to create your product. Get paid to create your product before it's even a thing. And oh, by the way, when you follow this process, you're going to create the absolute best product you could possibly create. And people are going to love you for it. And you're going to generate success stories and case studies that you can use further on down the road. And you're going to create a product that you're going to be able to sell for years. Would that sound pretty amazing to you? We're talking about the seed launch. I've been teaching the seed launch for years, and these are the kind of results we've seen. In fact, when I first started teaching about product launches, so history lesson, short history lesson, in 1996, I started my first business. Back then, I was teaching people about the stock market. I was publishing newsletters about the stock market. I did that for 8 years. And then in 2005, I decided to start teaching about business building, about doing product launches. I did a seed launch for my product launch formula coaching program. That was the first way I ever delivered it. Now again, you look around at what we're doing here, I've had over 1 million people go through this launch masterclass with me. I've had tens of thousands of people go through my product launch formula coaching program. They've gotten $1 billion of results. But it all started with a seed launch, that first seed launch that I did back all those years ago, and I only had 6 people join me in that seed launch. I convinced 6 people to buy from me. And that was the seed that built this entire business, this entire empire. So the seed launch is extraordinary because it's the simplest launch. Generally, there's only one piece of pre-launch content. You start off and you build up that seed list, a very, very small list, but you build that up, you do your launch, and then you'll deliver your product over time to those people that have bought from you. And every step of the way, instead of you having to go into a mad laboratory and figure out, what am I going to teach? How am I going to deliver this product? Every step of the way, you're consulting with your new clients and you're figuring out what they need. And in essence, you're just answering their questions. So if you have enough skill to be able to take a topic and split it into 5 different areas, and then ask people what they need to know about those areas, and then get on a webinar or a live broadcast and answer those questions, then you have the minimum skill level you need to do a seed launch. And I've seen this over and over. People get paid to create the product, they create a great product, and that creates an amazing business for them. But again, I would like to show you a real world example. So let's go to it.
Hey, so my name is Michael Walker, and I teach musicians how to grow their fan base and tour successfully when there's not a global pandemic happening. But right now I teach them how to grow their fan base online. And one of my biggest challenges when I was starting out was that I was disconnected from the people that I was trying to serve, in the sense that I thought that I understood their issues, but we had gotten to a point with our band where we had built an audience. We had about 24 million streams on Spotify, and I'd forgotten what it was like to be at the beginning and to be struggling just to get your first 1,000 true fans. And so when I launched my first course, I made literally 0 sales, and I didn't know how to speak to where they were at and how to really serve them best. And for me, the seed launch was really a way to have a conversation and get in tune with those people, because in a sense, it was like both of what we were saying were making sense, right? Like, so it's like I was playing the C chord, and they're playing F sharp. So alone, like they make sense, but then when you put them together, it's like it's not good. And so, I think for me, the Seed launch was really a way to get on those conversations with people and just listen and really hear what their biggest challenges were, what they needed help with, what they wanted, so that I could start to play in tune with them. And that's how I went from making zero and really being $36,000 in debt with my business starting out to making our first $100,000 that year, and within 2 years growing to a 7-figure business. Was that initial pivotal point of actually listening and getting in tune with our audience. And for me, what it looked like doing the Seed launch was I had learned a bunch of stuff with my band, and I basically just peeled back and shared the number one thing that we had ever learned in our career, which was essentially the thing that took us from the beginning, where we were living in our vans and sleeping in Walmart parking lots, to selling 24,000 CDs in about 4 months and touring with one of our favorite bands. And so I basically took that one strategy that I knew had made the biggest impact for my own life, and I shared that using a PLF style launch that I did live. And it was like, so you might be looking at this right now and be like, oh yeah, he has a professional setup, but it was not that way at the beginning. It was really bad. And I'm still running the exact same, we have the replay and we're still running it, and that's still our main engine of growth. So it just goes to show that the quality is not the most important thing. And so, I did that live launch, and then it really just turned into, I didn't have a course for sale on that training. It was really just me trying to provide as much value as possible. And the call to action at the end of it was to have a conversation with me personally and to submit an application. And so from there, we would have a private one-on-one session where I had an opportunity to listen to them and ask them questions like, what are your biggest challenges and frustrations right now? What are your biggest goals for the next year? What's holding you back? And really listen and get in tune with them, so that over time we were able to create a really powerful program that I think is the best thing that's available right now on the market, because I really was able to listen and stay in tune with those people. And now it's like, our biggest issue early on was just that as it grew, it wasn't scalable because I was doing all the one-on-one sessions, and it started to get overwhelming, which is a good problem to have, be too in demand, but it's still a problem. And so that's when I started to hire out a team of coaches, and I trained them up. And now we have a team of 17 coaches who are doing these initial strategy sessions for us, and they're doing a lot of the fulfillment. And I just get on, a couple of sessions for each client at the biggest leverage points where I can make the most impact. And so that was, how I kind of started from scratch with the Seed launch. Hugely valuable, got in tune, listened, and was able to create somewhat of a symphony of music based on actually being able to listen to the market.
Listen and stay in tune. Is that a beautiful way of illustrating that idea of being in conversation with your market? So that was Michael Walker, and he has built seriously incredible business. And so let's dig into the tactics of how this actually works. So with the Seed launch, the whole idea is that, let's just start here. So I'm going to start right at the very beginning. I'd like to say that you can start this with no list and no product. Now, the first thing you want to do is build your seed list. So you do that. If you do that by building a list, which is a matter of driving traffic into an opt-in page. So this is an opt-in page. And on the opt-in page, typically a way I love to do this is what we call a content upgrade strategy. And so what you'll do is maybe you'll drive people to this page, and maybe you have a video or a PDF, and that provides real value, some type of training, something. Again, Michael, it could be, hey, he was teaching bands and touring musicians how to have more success. as he said, in the pre-pandemic times. I'll tell you what, his business is doing better than ever right now. But in any case, maybe you drive them there and it's got the first tip, the first hint, something cool, and then, and it could just be a written web page, it could be a blog post, it could be a video, it could be a PDF, and then down at the bottom, there's a place if they want even more, if they want the next step, and that's the content upgrade. First, you give a piece of content and let that build value for them, and they get through it, and at the bottom, it's like, hey, if you want the second step, here. Like, I know like Dan did a course on how to do videos. Because he does all my video and he's been doing it for 10 years. So we did a course on how to create effective videos. So what if he took you to a video or to a video that said, here's all the gear that I use and this is why I use it and this is how to pick through it and everything like that. And then he said, and if you want, the reality is I'm making this video now, but new cameras come out all the time, new lenses come out all the time, new software comes out all the time. And so if you want my very latest up-to-date list of gear, put your email address in and I'll send you the PDF. Do you see how that's an upgrade? First, he says, this is everything I'm using now and why I use it. And if you want the latest, because the stuff always changes, enter your email address down below. Does that make sense? Tell me in the comments if that makes sense. So you create that page, and creating this page used to be a nightmare. Remember, I've been doing this for decades. It used to be a nightmare. I am not technical. I'm not a coder. I don't know how to do this stuff, but I would hack together the ugliest page in the world to do this. And it was just nightmarish. Nowadays, there are all these different tools, amazing tools that make it super easy to create one of these pages. So you create this opt-in page, and then you said, okay, Jeff, you said drive traffic like it's really easy. Well, the reality is what you're looking for your seed list is, and here's your list. For your seed list, I want you to get 200 to 300 people on your list. And what you would do is you would drive people to this page via like social. And this would be like maybe you go to a Facebook group or maybe you're posting on Insta. And it's not like the first time you show up in a Facebook group, you're like, hey, go check out my page. No, what you would do is you would participate there a little bit, build some value over a few weeks or a month, build some value, build some recognition there. And then say, oh, I just created this thing. Like if it was Dan, I just created this thing about all the gear. People are always asking me what gear I use. That's the number one question I get is what camera, what lens, yada, yada. So go here and I put it all together for you on this page. And you're not just sending people to like a blank page with an opt-in, you're sending people to a page that's got real value. You do this, so you could do that in social, you could do that in forums. You can also, what I call I didn't invent the term, word of mouth. The reality is if this is good content, people will start sharing it. And this is a more advanced strategy. Usually you don't use in a seed launch, but some people do, and that's paid traffic, like would be, in other words, advertising, like on Facebook or Instagram. So you drive people in here, 200 to 300 people. So could you possibly have 200 to 300? I know this holds people back, so I'm going to be a little facetious here. But a lot of people are like, I don't have a list. Well, none of us start with a list. None of us do. If you heard Elliott Connie yesterday, he was like, I just wanted to get 100 people on my list, just because that would mean that was my whole goal. And he said after he got to 100, then what did he want? I just want 500 people. That would be amazing. And after he got 500 people, then it'd be, I just want 1,000 people. That would be so amazing. And now, what did he say? It was like at 42,000 or something like that. So can we just, let's do a thought experiment. For those, if you're thinking, I can't get to 200 or 300 people, let's do a thought experiment. Can we all acknowledge that there are people in the world that have 200 to 300 people on their email list? Can we all agree that there are people in the world that have an email list of 200 to 300? And I'm being a little silly here because it's obvious, right? So if those people can, you can too. You just have to buckle down and do it. You just do it exactly like I just said. So those folks, they come here, not all of them put their email address in, but some of them do. And so like if you could get 10 people, if you could get 20 people a day from one of these to come to here, and you could get half of them to opt in, which is not unheard of. It's a number that I regularly get. Half of them, then you've got, in a month, you've got your list. Okay, you take your seed list and you do a launch. And this is generally an abbreviated version of the Sideways Sales Letter. Sometimes you can make it as complex as you want, but really, you know how in that Sideways Sales Letter, we had that sequence of PLC 1 through 4. Often in a seed launch, you actually do that with just one video. One video, and like I said yesterday, it could be a video, it could be an email, it could be a screen capture video, it could be a podcast, frankly. PLC, it's just one piece of content here, and you're sharing this great content. At the end of it, it's like, and remember, you're just starting out. You have no product. You're starting out, you have no product, and we'll go back to Kara. And let's say Kara, she's not just starting out, but let's say she was just starting out. And she's like, okay, let me show you the nitty-gritty, most important 3 lessons on how to have your home-based cake decorating business. And she would get on and teach, and at the end she would say, and again, Kara, she's got products, she's all advanced right now. In fact, stick with us for a super secret segment. We've got something about Kara that you'll see. It's pretty cool. But at the end, it's, hey, this has been awesome to share. And, people have been asking me to create a product around this. And frankly, it's something that has felt like overwhelming to me. I didn't really want to do it, but I've got this idea of how I can do it that I think is going to be super cool, because it's sort of like you're going to be getting coaching from me. It's not going to be one-on-one coaching, but it's almost like you're going to be getting coaching from me, and it's going to be super interactive, and I'll be sure to be answering all your questions, and in my next video, I'm going to tell you all about it. So then, actually this is PLC 1 through 3. So then this is your open, we can call this a lot of names. We can call it the open cart, we can call it PLC 4, we can call it the sales video. Basically, this is your sales message. So you take the folks from your seed list and you mail them into this really cool piece of content. Then at the end of the content, you make your offer. And this offer is generally one of the highest converting offers ever, because people love to buy this type of product. Because what the product is I'll get to that in just a sec, and you're going to see why it's so attractive. And this is what Michael did. He's like, he taught. Hey, you know what? I've got this really cool thing I'm going to do. I'm actually going to make it with you, in conjunction with you, and I'm going to be coaching you through the process. Think about it. Like if right now if me, Jeff Walker, said, at this point, I said, hey, would you be interested? I've got this class coming up, and it's going to be 5 sessions where we go really, really in deep, and it's just going to be a small group of folks, and it's going to be you and me and a small group of folks, and I'm going to be answering your questions all the way through and teaching this step-by-step, everything you want to know about how to do a launch. Would you be interested? I bet you some of you would be. Does that sound attractive? Now, you take that and translate the exact same thing into your niche. Take exactly what I just said, or exactly what I said about Kara, and put it in. And then what you do is you make some sales. And really what you're looking for is ideally 20 to 30 sales. And I'll talk about why in a minute. So then what you actually do is you deliver this via a series of, I'm going to put calls, but it could be lives. Really the way to do it these days is Zoom. That'd be the way to do it. And you're going to offer 5 of them. You say, we're going to have 5 Zooms where I'm going to get on with you and just a small group of folks. We're all going to see each other, and I'm going to coach you through this process. And I'm going to be taking your questions all the way through the process. I'm going to be answering your questions. You get to hear, you get yourself answered, plus you get to hear the answers that you didn't even, answers to questions you didn't even think about that the other people are going to ask. Okay, so then what you do, so this is the actual sale. So a lot of people are like, how much do you charge for this? And it could be all over the board. It depends on your market. It depends on your niche. Here's the thing, is the first time I ever taught the product launch formula, I did it in this exact fashion. Now, exactly. Now, I charged a lot of money for it. I charged $3,000. And I only had 6 people buy from me. So I didn't hit this number of 20 to 30 people. I only sold 6 of them. But those 6 sales became this. And I have sold tens of millions of dollars of my product, of product launch formula, because of those 6 sales. Now, a lot of times people, they think, you know, they sort of want to jump past the C launch and jump right into the internal launch or JV launch. And for some people that might be right, but don't underestimate the power. Now, a lot of people, you know, they'll charge more like $197, or maybe for cake decorating it might be $497. It just completely depends on your market and your niche. But if you take a look around and see what some of the folks in your market are charging for their premium price stuff, that's probably where you should be, because what you're doing is you're giving a very custom experience. Because what's going to happen is you take those buyers, those 20 to 30 buyers, you take those folks and you're going to run a survey. Well, first of all, you're going to split it up into 5 main topics. And I don't know cake decorating, so I don't know about splitting in what 5 topics would be, but maybe if it was, let's go back to yesterday's example of building a guitar repertoire. Maybe it could be picking the songs, making strum patterns, strumming and singing, how to practice the repertoire, and how to actually performance tips. Okay, boom. So you've split it. You've come up with those 5 main topics. So the first topic, what did I say, was like picking the repertoire. So, and I'm not saying those are the right 5 topics. I just made that up. I'm not a guitar teacher. But let's just say the first one was, you know, how to pick the songs for the repertoire. What you would do is for these 20 or 30 people who bought, you would send them to a survey. And there's many different survey tools, you know, SurveyMonkey, Survey Gizmo, Google Forms. There's free versions, there's paid versions. They're all pretty darn effective. You send them to a very simple survey, and the survey is, okay, our first class is going to be about picking the songs for your guitar repertoire, and then identifying your first song. That's what our first class is going to be about. What is your top 2 questions about that? So you send that out, you get all those questions that people answer, and you get all these questions, and then you take those questions and you just sort of sort them into a, you know, what seems like a logical order. Then you get on the Zoom and you say, okay, first thing I want to talk about is whatever the first question is. Second thing I want to talk about, you know, go through it, answer that question. Second thing I need to talk about is this. Third thing that people, you know, I really want to go over. Fourth thing that people are really interested, at the end you open up for questions. Boom, you've covered that topic. So first you do the survey, and then you do the call, the Zoom, okay? Then after that one, then a lot of times, the way I did this was I spaced them out 1 week apart. Sometimes people put them closer together, but a week apart gives you time to rest, recover, figure out, you know, what you want to do next. Then you run people through another survey, and the survey was, hey, on that last call, we covered how to pick the songs in your guitar repertoire. It was really awesome. If you have any extra questions, if there's anything I didn't answer, then let me know right here. Boom, ask that question. Then our next topic is going to be whatever I said it was going to be. And what's, the strumming patterns. The next one is, our next lesson is going to be on strumming patterns. What are your top 2 questions about strumming patterns? So you get all the answers there, organize them into a logical way, get on to this Zoom and answer those questions. After that, you do the exact same thing for the third, get on for this Zoom, and do that 5 times. You do it 5 times, and then throw in a bonus that you never even told them about. So actually do a 6th one and do a Q&A. And if you want to go crazy, and this is what I did, because I really wanted to crazy over-deliver, you can add another one. You could interview someone. Actually, what I did was I did 5 plus 1, and then I did I think it was 5 more. So it just went on forever, where I had 5 people I had coached through the process, and I did interviews with each one of them. So over-delivering in this type of, in this process is really easy, and it's great to give people something that you never even told them they were going to get. And all of a sudden, hey, I got another unannounced surprise bonus. So you do that for your 5 calls, plus as many bonus calls as you want. Is this making sense? Let me know in the comments. I'm about to go take a look. So, what do you end up with after this? Because you did it on Zoom, and you could do it anywhere you want. You could do it on Instagram Live. You could do it on Facebook Lives. I did it, frankly, I did it before we could do video, back in 2004 or something like that. I did it with teleseminars, if any of you even know what those things are. It was basically, I was on the phone just talking. So let's just say you Zoom. What do you end up with? You end up with video, right? You got video from your teaching. You end up with audio. It's really easy to strip the audio out so you could just give people the MP3s, the audio recordings. You also have transcripts. And I know I'm moving fast, and someone take notes on this because people are going to ask what these abbreviations are, but you get transcripts. You also get the separate Q&A session, which is often, you could cut that out and say, plus this extra Q&A, plus you could turn it into a frequently asked questions, an FAQ. And you also, because you've worked very interactively with these people, you're going to get them results. You get case studies. We had a question from a lot of people. How do you build authority? How do you build social proof? This is how you do it. So it started with just, deliver a little bit of content and then build a list. Then do this very simple launch. Get 20 or 30 people, get them to go through it, have some of them become case studies. Now you've got case studies. What I'm talking about is you have a product. This is a product. By doing these calls, you've created a product. Now, you might be a perfectionist like me, and after I did mine, I went back, and since I'd done this work, I was able to re-record it, just because I wanted to be more perfect, But you got to watch out. Perfectionism is really, just a super advanced form of procrastination. So I do have that perfectionist streak. It's often to my detriment. So you can go re-record it, but the reality is, with just this here, the video, the audio, the transcripts, getting stuff transcribed is really inexpensive. There's a gazillion different ways to do it. It's just, frankly, you could upload your video to YouTube and it will transcribe it for you. Q&A, this is a full-blown product, and it's just not a product that you sat down. Remember Michael, he played the C chord and I think it was the F sharp chord and how they clashed? What he's talking about is, if you were just to sit down and create a product, you have this thing called the curse of knowledge, where you have more knowledge than the person you're teaching. And the curse of knowledge means you forget what it's like to be in the other seat. You forget what it's like to be a beginner. And so you just end up teaching at the wrong level, at too high a level usually. And you don't define the things. And you don't go through the simple principles. In this process, you have people pulling the information out of you. It's so much easier when people are pulling it out of you because you can tune the training to what they need. What I'm talking about right now is critical to your success. Take notes on this. This is critical. It's so easy to sit there and go down into, sit down in your office and just start typing or start recording and create something that is just not good. But here it's tuned to the market. Just like Michael said, his became tuned to his market. The first time he tried to do before he came to PLF land and tried to do a launch, he sold 0. But then after he did that seed launch, he built this incredible business because he was in conversation with the market. I can't stress this enough. It's just critical. That's why, like when I first did my very first version of Product Launch Formula, it was an amazing course. It got incredible results. It set up everything. But it's not because I just was a genius at creating a great course. I was really good at doing product launches, but I wasn't good at teaching it. Remember, if you saw my story yesterday, I spent 8 years teaching people about the stock market, doing launches, but not teaching launches. And then I started teaching launches. So I was really good at doing them, but I wasn't good at teaching them. But I did this process, and I became good at it. So if you're sitting there wondering whether this can work for you, the reality is, can you answer, if someone sat down with you and just asked questions, could you answer those questions? And if you could, then you can create a great product. But you can only do it if you know what people want, and that's how you do it with the seed launch. Now, because I've been teaching this for a long time, I know there's going to be a couple questions. So first of all, I said I want you to get 20 to 30. That's because I want a lot of interaction so that people are interacting with you through the entire process and asking you questions. I only sold to 6. So it was basically a failed launch that first time. Only selling to 6 was not the best launch ever. In fact, it was my worst launch ever. But it set me up for everything. So what I did was I thought 6 isn't enough. Because the reality is if I have 6, by the time I get to my 5th call, no one's going to be showing up. Because that's the nature of the world, is not everyone completes what they start. So I just invited a bunch of friends that people I knew in the industry that I thought were interested, but maybe weren't ready to pay me, or they were too busy, or since they're good friends, I felt bad about taking their money. That's how I used to feel that way. So I comped after a complimentary membership in, and I got it up to somewhere between 30 and 40 people. So that's just a little, I took the side door. It was that simple. Another thing, a lot of people are like, okay, I would feel bad taking people's money when I haven't even created the product yet. Anyone out there wondering that? Go ahead and leave that in the comments. Because that's, I know, one of the biggest stumbling blocks of it doesn't feel right to charge people when I haven't even created it. And I would point you to, when I went to college, I paid my tuition before I took the classes. When I go to a play, I pay for my ticket before the performance is given. When I subscribe to a newspaper or a magazine, I pay for them before they're created. If you start to look around the world, this happens everywhere. There's nothing. I mean, a lot of times you sign up for coaching. You sign up with a personal trainer. You pay in advance. That's just the way it is. And they're paying you to give a great experience. Now, I think we sort of pounded that into the ground. Dan, are there questions about the seed launch?
Yeah, there are. Yeah, we've got a bunch of them here. And as is typical, you've been kind of answering some of them as we're going through here. One that I see coming up a bunch, and we really try to shy away from technical sort of, like what buttons do you push question here. But just because this one came up a bunch, I'm just going to answer this quick. People are asking, what about recording the people in your class in Zoom? What if they don't want to be recorded, stuff like that? You can have Zoom just record just you teaching it and not have those people if you're worried about that. So don't even have to worry about that.
And the reality is that if you disclose up front that these will be recorded and these will be part of the product, then I've yet to have someone have a problem with that. Now, I mean, there could be people in some markets that are sensitive, like maybe it's like sex addiction or just, there are some that people are going to be sensitive about, but in general, for most markets, people don't have a problem with it. And you can do it like Dan said.
Totally. Okay, so we're getting some questions about getting started with one of these. So what about one like this? So this person, so Steph says she has an email list of 600 plus people, but what do you do when that email list is a cold list? She hasn't contacted them in years. Does it make sense to send anything to them still?
Yeah, just start sending them valuable stuff. One of the great things about this process is you get so tuned into your market. And as we've gone through, it's like Dan said, a lot of times I'm answering your questions before we've even gone to them. And why is that? It's because I've built a very interactive business for 15 years. So I'm already inside your head, before you are. And so what I would do is I'd start delivering value to those people. And it doesn't take much, 2 or 3 pieces of value. The first email I send out would be, hey, mea culpa, hey, I'm sorry about this, but I know I said I was going to send you some cool stuff, and life got crazy. It's been a crazy year. Sorry about that. I want to make it up for you, and I've got something really cool for you. Here it is. And then deliver another cool thing, and then the third time, send them into here, and you're golden. Or you could, with the 600, you could just send them right into here once you form them up.
Okay, what about this one from Nancy? Nancy says, what if you're too shy to do it live?
Yeah, if you're too shy, you could do it just all via screen capture. I mean, you could, there's all kinds of formats, and by screen capture, I mean, maybe you're just showing a PowerPoint or a keynote, slides, and you're going through slides and talking to the slides. And many of us are too shy. Believe me, I am an introvert. This is me turning into an extrovert for 3 hours, but I'm totally an introvert. And really, the amazing thing when you come out to, well, we used to have live events, and we'd all get together, and it was really awesome. And someday soon we will have live events again. But I think maybe it's because I'm an introvert. I attract a lot of introverts, and so our event will be, 60% of the folks are introverts. And the reality, Ann talked to this, like, speaking to the green dot, if you saw Ann LaFollette yesterday, she talked exactly to this, and how she was very reticent in the beginning. It was just, she was doing Facebook Lives, and no one was on the other side, so she just got used to it. And then it was just 1 or 2 family members, and then it was a couple members, and now she's got an amazing business.
Nice. Okay, this is sort of an interesting one. This one's from David. David is wondering if the seed launch is for him. He says he already has a pretty detailed idea of how he wants to teach the program. Should he still do this process with the survey questions?
So David, what I would say is there are some people that can really knock it out of the park, just coming right out with an internal launch. But I would err on the side of the seed launch. Because unless you have great experience teaching, especially working with people when you're face-to-face where you can see their eyes glaze over when they don't understand something you're talking about, unless you have that level of teaching experience, then you go to the seed launch, and the seed launch shows you how to be a great teacher.
Okay, one from Susanna. Susanna's wondering, if I make a product out of this based on the questions of the 30 people that bought, if I try to sell the product again to other people, what if those new people have different questions than the first people? Should I do it again?
It rarely happens. The reality is if you get 30 people, they're going to cover all the questions. And the beautiful thing about this type of product, and I know we've got a lot of people that want to do physical products and artwork and stuff like that, and we'll get to you, trust me. But for this type of online product or membership, an online course, a membership site, whatever, where you're teaching, where you're sharing, where you're coaching, the beautiful thing is how you can expand the product at any time. So when I open up the Product Launch Formula coaching program, I'm going to tell you about the coaching program, and then I'm going to start telling you about the bonuses. And it's that's the time to go put up the tea, get the teapot going and make a cup of tea, because it's going to take me a long time to tell you about all the amazing extra bonuses you get. Well, all those bonuses were built on people saying, oh, what about this? Or what about that? Or have you thought about book launches? Or what about high-end events? Or what about doing this without any technology? And so, I'll create a bonus for that. I'll create a bonus for that. I'll create a bonus. So in the unlikely event that those 30 people don't give you all the questions, and they will, but later on more questions might come up or technology might change, you can just add another bonus in the future.
Awesome. Okay, this is an interesting one. This one's from Caitlin. It sounds like Caitlin already has a business, and Caitlin's wondering, Caitlin says, can I use my existing? Can I do a seed launch to her existing customers and ask them to share with their friends?
Totally. I mean, this is like if you want to create another offer, a secondary offer, this would be the time to do a seed launch. Or say like you have, say you've been teaching meditation. Or, let's just say meditation. I don't know what your market is. And you've been teaching that, and you could do a seed launch. I've never talked about this in the masterclass. But if you just want to go to a higher, deeper level, say you got a bunch of clients, you could say, hey, I've given you this great stuff on how to have a meditation practice, but what I do know is that having a coach can really give you a jump start and take you to the next level really quick. And so I'm going to run a small class. This would be here. I'm going to run a small class where we're only going to take 12 people, and I'm going to work you through this process, or 20 people, or 30 people, and then drive them through this. But you could charge a lot more for something like that. So let's say you already have this meditation course for $300, and you've got a bunch of people that have gone through it. Now, but it's like an online video course, and people are getting great results, and they love you. But now they can work with you live, and you just open up 30 spots. But instead of being $300, because it's live and interactive, it might be $1,000, and that can be a super attractive offer. So I don't know if I really quite answered that question or not, but I think I did.
Well, this next one's actually sort of similar, so maybe this one will help clarify a little bit more. And so this next one is, I think I missed who is, the comments scrolled. I missed who this was. I am sorry. You know who you are. So this person is asking, they have a good list, about 2,500 people, but they're looking to move into a slightly different market. They're not sure how much of their existing, sounds like there's some crossover, but they're not sure. And this person's wondering if starting off in this new market with not as many people, seed launch would be the right strategy.
So this is a great question. So this is perfect. So here, let me go to a different color. So let's say you said you had 2,500 people on your list. So you've already got this list. You've got 2,500, and say it's maybe it's guitar. Maybe you have a guitar list. People, we keep on going back to guitars. Guitars are on my mind.
I wonder why.
I've been playing a lot of guitar lately. I've got this really sweet guitar for Christmas, and I'm just falling in love with it. So you got 2,500 people that have bought from you, or no, I've just joined your list that are interested in guitar, but now maybe you want to do something on voice lessons, or maybe you want to do something on music theory. So it's related. It's likely that a lot of those guitar people might be interested in music theory or might be interested in voice. It's related, but it's not totally right on. So what you could do is you could take these 2,500 people and say, hey, I know some of you are interested in voice lessons or how to make your voice better. So go check this out. I put together a quick video on it. And you would send them to a squeeze page. So they're already on your list, but now you've sent them to the squeeze page that's all about voice lessons. And if you want to know, I've got something cool coming about voice lessons, enter your email. So now there's 2,500, maybe 1,500 of them click through, and maybe 500 actually opt in. Those are probably pretty aggressive numbers, but maybe you end up with 500. Then you take them through this process. So what we did was we sublisted. We created a smaller list of people interested in a new thing. That's called a sublist, or another term we use in PLF world is it's a launch list. So now you're not pestering the full 2,500, who many of them don't care about voice, and you've carved out the ones that care about voice, and you mail to them. So there you go.
Okay, maybe one more question, and then we'll move along. Okay, so this one's from Alicia. Alicia's wondering, she says, My list has been used to 1 email monthly, almost no sales. How do I not drive them away when I make a switch to more frequent emails with sales involved?
Do exactly what I just told you. So from that, the bigger list, a lot of times people have like a newsletter. First of all, first thing you got to do is, I don't know what your business is, I don't know what your market is, but you got to start publishing weekly. Monthly doesn't cut it. I'm sorry, but people forget about you. You know, some of you know I put out a video every single week. I've been doing that for like 7 years. That's like my cornerstone piece of content. Every week you get a free video from me. And so you have to go from monthly to weekly. You just have to. You got to tell, hey, I know you guys love this, and you're going to love it 4 times more because you're going to get it 4 times a month. But what you would do with the people in that case where they're just getting a newsletter, no sale, take them and mail them into this content upgrade process, and then you'll carve out the ones that are interested in hearing about whatever that topic is. And I can't remember how many we said was on that list, but it sounded like a big list. Maybe it's 20,000. Maybe you end up with 2,000 or 3,000 here that have now opted in to get more cool stuff about this topic. Then you run them through your launch, and boom, problem solved. Okay. So, how's the energy out there? You guys doing good? I'm about to go over and check my comments, but the internal launch. So, the internal launch, this actually looks the exact same. This is your opt-in or a PDF. This is cool stuff that leads into you're getting an email address. You're driving, this is for those of you that already have an email list, that you already have a product, or you're creating a bigger product. You've done that seed launch, and now you're ready to roll with that product. Again, you're always, ABL stands for always be launching and always be building your list. So there's an extra B for that one. AB, always be building your list, is AB squared L. Always be building your list. It's my little games I play as I sit here in my, just talking to cameras, trying to keep you entertained. You could be, doing content, your ongoing content, like the newsletter we were just talking about, could be, that's driving word of mouth. You could be doing paid traffic, all different ways. You're driving people, you're building your list. You're always building your list. Just like Elliot talked about it yesterday, they're joining your email list. So this email list is what we call, I'm introducing a new term. This is your prospect list. So people are prospective customers. That's your prospect list. So this is the classic sideways sales letter. You take your prospect list and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because this one's pretty simple in the grand scheme of things. You're sending them into your launch. So you're mailing your list and you're saying, go check out this amazing video. This is your opportunity video. Then a few days later, go check out this amazing video. That's your transformation video. Then a few days later, go check out this amazing video, and that's your ownership video. And then you take them into your open cart. This is the OC, the open cart. Again, I covered all of this in lesson 1. And then, so you do this launch, and what do you get out of the launch? You get dollars, which is awesome. Frankly, that's something I forgot to mention about the seed launch. The seed launch, sometimes people do really great, they do nice sales for seed launch, but the seed launch is really about getting you in the game. And I even think of the dollars, celebrate them, they're amazing, it's awesome, it's incredible, but it's about building your first product and getting you in the game. But the internal launch is where the dollars start to get bigger. So another thing you get is buyers. So this is something I didn't talk about. This applies for the seed launch as well. But when you have people buy from you, this might sound obvious, but you buyers. Now in my business, we don't talk about buyers. We talk about our PLF owners. And one of the rules in my company is you have to capitalize owners. And I will admit that sometimes, when you're texting back and forth, it's a bit of a pain in the ass to say, to capitalize, if I'm texting with my team or I'm slacking with my team, always capitalize owners. And I know it's not it's not grammatically correct, but PLF owners, they get that. It's like a way of underlining it. So anyways, take that on if it feels right for you. I don't have buyers, I have owners. But the key thing here is, in addition to the dollars from the sales, you have a buyer's list. We'll do this. Now you have 2 lists. And the significance of this list is that the people on your buyer's list are 15 times more valuable to your business. Now this is, it's just an average number based on my experience over the last 25 years. Might be a little higher, might be a little lower, but in other words, if you had a prospect list of 15,000 people and you had a buyer's list of 1,000 people, and then you came out with your next product, this list of 1,000 people would generate as many sales as this list of 15,000. I hope that makes sense. Let me know if that makes sense in the comments. These people have already bought into you. They've already done the hard work of developing your authority, of developing the reciprocity, of delivering value and proving that you deliver on your word, especially if you did that seed launch. So the dollars from your launch is fantastic, but it really, in the long run, the dollars you make pale in comparison to the fact that you've started to build a buyer's list, because these folks could be with you for a long time. We literally, in a few days, we're going to release a case study from someone who bought from me on October 21st, 2005. I'm talking about Ray Edwards. He bought in 2005, and he still upgrades every year. He's still part of my world. And that's just one of many that have been with me for 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. The buyers are super important to your long-term business. Okay, one other thing that you get is this thing called the Launch Echo. And the Launch Echo maybe sounds weird, this might sound theoretical, but after you get out there and deliver this value, whether it's cake decorating or teaching people how to have a business, building sheds, or whatever it is, once you do this and build that value, the people in your market will start to notice. And you do your launch, and you're developing great big authority. And all of a sudden, you're going to start getting people asking you to be on their podcast. They're going to be asking to promote your next product. They're going to want to be on your team. They're going to want to be a content partner. They're going to start talking about you in social. That's the Launch Echo. Sounds theoretical. It's not. It is incredibly real. And as you go through our case studies, you'll hear people talk about the Launch Echo. It's like I said, dollars are awesome. Buyers will fuel your business forever. The Echo is how you become a star in your market. And you get that by putting together the Sideways Sales Letter. So that's the internal launch. I know I went really quick. Do we have a couple of quick questions on the internal launch?
Actually, I've got one here that I think this is, it's internal launch, but it isn't, but I think this is an important one. Brooklyn is asking, can this all be done with a Facebook page instead of building an email list? As a small business person who's creating a lot, juggling an email list along with growing a Facebook page and an Instagram page seems like one thing too many.
Okay, so a couple different ways to answer this. So first of all, you got to build an email list. I'd like to tell you no, but you have to build an email list, because you know what happens is if Facebook is incredibly powerful, an incredibly powerful tool, but it's like say you went and you rented a piece of land. You rented a piece of land, and then you built your dream home on that land. Your absolute dream home on this land. And then like the next year, the person who was renting that land to you came to you and said, you know what, I don't want to rent this land to you anymore. What would happen? You would be screwed. Your dream home is gone. You're done. And when you build on any other platform, any platform that you don't own, and this could be Insta, this could be Facebook, it could be Pinterest, it could be YouTube. They can change the rules at their whim anytime. They own it. They set the rules. You have zero rights, absolutely zero rights. And I have friends, like, it's been a long time I've been in this business. I have friends who have been shut down on literally every single social media platform. You tell me, I have a friend that got shut down. In fact, we had a copyright claim, a copyright strike on our YouTube channel when one of my team members mistakenly reported, like they were going to report another video that was a copyright infringement on us, and they accidentally just put in the wrong URL and they put in our video. And so YouTube gave us a strike. And if I had 2 more strikes, then we lost our account. So that was our mistake, but a lot of times they'll just change the rules. A few years ago, when you had a Facebook page and you put something on there, it would get sent out to all your followers. Then one day they changed that rule, and you no longer did. So you have to take people off of Facebook and off of Insta and drive them to your email list. Now, that being said, you can do this whole process on Facebook. And I've done that. And in fact, it was enormously successful. And in fact, in the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program, we actually teach how to do this. So you can do a launch on Facebook, but you have to drive people to your email list. So if you have those, here's your, this is the way you do it. Here's your great big Facebook following, your Insta following. You drive people back here to your email list. And then, if this is Facebook, then you can go and do your launch on Facebook. So you don't need any fancy pages or anything like that. You don't need to host your own videos. You could do it all there on Facebook. And like I said, we actually did that last April because we had to do an emergency launch because of the pandemic. People were just dying to launch. So we did a launch, but we only had a few days to put it together. And we put it together in a few days by doing it completely on Facebook. So it basically takes technology almost completely out of the mix. The only thing you have to worry about, you do need that email list. So I hope that I sort of covered that in a few different ways. I hope that was clear.
Boom. Yeah, that was awesome. Okay, so maybe one more question to keep us on track here. We got a question from Kate. Kate, I like the way you're thinking here. Kate says, question, once you've created your product with a seed launch, can you repurpose that product via an internal launch?
That is exactly 100% what you show do, Kate. And I'll be showing you how to do that in just a moment. Perfect question. Okay, Dan, shall we move along?
Yeah, let's show them the next thing.
Let's pour some gasoline on the fire, or if you're not in the States, we're talking about pouring petrol on the fire with the JV launch. So let's talk about the joint venture launch, or the JV launch for short. I like to think of this launch as pouring gasoline on a fire. You've got this nice little fire going with your seed launch, your internal launch, and you take a can of gasoline or petrol, for those of you outside the States, pour it on there and it just blows up in a big way, in a good way. So this launch, it requires more work, but the results can be absolutely breathtaking. What you're doing is you're using the power of other people's lists. Because whatever market you're in, there are other people, other leaders, other experts, other gurus who've done the hard work of building up a big following. And this is where those people tell their followers, their email list, about your launch. They'll mail their people and they'll say, go check out Sally's launch. Go check out Fred's launch. And when they send those emails, those people will click through to your page and see your launch. Now, why would they do that? Because if you end up making sales to the people they send over, then you'll pay them a commission. This ends up being a win-win-win, because the people that go through your launch and buy from you, they're going to get the great experience of being one of your clients. And of course, because you've probably gone through a seed launch and you've gone through an internal launch, you've got a great product and a great launch and a great system. You've followed the formula. So the people that buy from you get a great experience. You get a great experience because you get so many more clients. And then your partner gets a great experience because they've helped out the people on their email list, and they make money from it when you pay them commissions. And if you reflect back on those mental triggers from lesson 1, think about like that authority trigger, even that social proof trigger. Well, what if you're in a given market? Maybe it's learn guitar, and you're someone who wants to learn guitar, and all of a sudden you start getting all these emails about Sally, who's doing the launch about how to play guitar. All those emails from all those different people coming into someone's inbox, massive social proof, creates massive authority. And think about it. If you get 2, 3, 4, 10, 20, 30, it doesn't, just think about all those people mailing their lists. You could have 3 partners with 10,000 people on each of their lists, all of a sudden mailing into your launch. Now, for me personally, I did internal launches for years, and then I did seed launches. The biggest launch I'd ever done was $110,000 in a week. And that was an amazing number. It was incredible when I did that. But the first time I did a JV launch, I did over $600,000. So I went from best launch ever, $110,000, best internal launch, $110,000, up to $600,000. And the second time that I did a JV launch, $3.7 million. So when I say pouring gasoline on a fire, when I say blowing up your results and making them so much bigger, that's what the JV launch is all about. Now again, I love to teach from example, so let's hear from the real world right now.
Hi, my name is Dylan Frost. My market is teaching people how to be a better Amazon seller, or teaching people how to start selling on Amazon. So let me give you a little context here. I had a successful business selling physical products on Amazon. And then I discovered Product Launch Formula. It was the first time I'd ever learned anything about marketing, about sales psychology, about mental triggers, all that different stuff. I had never been exposed to it before. I didn't go to college or anything like that. So there was never a way for me to be introduced to these things and learn them. But when I learned it from Jeff, when I learned it in Product Launch Formula, it totally changed everything for us. So we had a successful business selling on Amazon. But what we did after learning from Jeff was we decided, okay, we're definitely going to create an information program to teach other people the same kind of successes and strategies that we've learned around Amazon, to teach them how to build their own successful Amazon business. But here was the thing. We knew we wanted to create this program, but we didn't have an email list. We didn't have any kind of social following. I didn't even use Facebook at the time. And so we didn't know how we could reach out to the audiences, how we could get this program in front of people so that they would purchase it. So the solution for us was to use JV partners, to find someone else that would be willing to take our program and promote it. So before we ever even created the program, before we ever created the course, what we did was we identified some people in the Amazon space, in the Amazon marketing space, and started reaching out to them. And we told them about our business, our Amazon business, and the success of our Amazon business, and telling them, hey, we could build this course, this program, and if we did, would you be willing to promote it? We asked a whole lot of people, and a whole lot of people said no, which is fine. But we did identify one person who said yes, he would. He enjoyed our story. He wanted to be able to share it, and we entered a partnership where he would promote it, and he would earn 50% of the sales and commission for promoting it. So we had someone that would. He just had a Facebook group with like a few hundred people in it. That's what he had access to be able to promote it, but that was good enough for us. We created the program. He promoted it, and it's interesting, at the time we had nothing. Our course was actually made our website was a Wix website. Our course was actually hosted in Wix. We didn't have a payment processor, so we borrowed the guy that was promoting us, and he just had like a 400 or 500 person Facebook group. That first launch, that JV launch, did about $130,000 in sales, and it's what got us started in the information marketing space. So now we had two successful businesses: our Amazon business and the information marketing business. And one thing led to another. That's the success of that launch with him, and the success that he had there. Other people noticed it and recognized it in the Amazon space. So we picked up more JVs and more JVs. So the next launch did 300,000, then 600,000, then $1 million, then 1.2 million, then 1.4 million, then 1.6 million, and it's continued to evolve and grow from there. At this particular point, our last 10 launches in a row have done over $1 million through the snowball effect that's generated from that very first one, where we didn't have a list, we didn't have any way, like nothing like that ahead of time. And some tips around JV partners and JV promotions that I really want to give is to be able to find great JV partners. You have to provide them some sort of value. That's the best way that you can pick up great JV partners. If they don't know who you are, if they've never met you before, is if you can provide them some sort of real authentic value, then they're much more likely to want to work with you and enter in a partnership with you, where you can create this great relationship that can benefit both of you. So what does that look like? I can give you some examples of things that I've done before to secure JV partnerships. So one thing is, our course, our program is built around teaching people how to sell on Amazon, or how to better succeed with selling on Amazon. So many of the JV partners we would reach out to are people with Amazon businesses. So we would help and support them, identify things that would help, that we could recognize because we were knowledgeable about Amazon, that would support and help their Amazon business, right? So we would do free consulting or help them in any sort of way to build up that reciprocity, which Jeff teaches a lot about reciprocity. And then that would help work us into the relationship where they would be willing to work with us, right? So it seems like things like that. If you can find people in your space or your niche, provide them some sort of value through any means necessary, build that partnership, that relationship, and then they're way more likely to promote you. So that's a big tip for me there.
So Dylan Frost. Now, Dan, I missed it. Did he talk about the results he's gotten?
Oh, just something like $10 million launches in a row, something like that. No big deal.
I was making some notes and I forgot about that part. So Dylan's obviously been incredibly successful at this. He's like a wonder child. So none of these results are typical. I'm not claiming you're going to do $1 million launches. I'm not claiming you're going to do a $3.7 million launch. There's hard work involved, and I will tell you, once you get into these joint venture launches, your margin goes down. So for those of you who didn't go to business school, there's sales, and then there's profit. And the profit's always a lower number than sales. So when he says $1 million launch, he is talking about $1 million in sales. When I say a $3.7 million launch, that's sales. And in fact, that's this thing, I think I invented this term, Dan. It's a bit of a joke. I call it marketer math. So to say 3.7 million, that's marketer math. That's like if there's zero refunds, if everyone makes every single payment, and everything goes perfectly. That never happens. So the numbers are always a little less impressive than that marketer math. So I'm just being totally real with you. And when you have partners, you pay them a commission, so that number comes down quite a bit. So I said I went from $110,000, which is my best launch ever for an internal launch, but the profit on that was probably about $104,000 because I didn't have a team, I didn't have any commissions to pay, I had almost zero technology. The product was an email that I was sending out. So the only cost I had were my merchant processing fees, which anytime people send you money, there's some little, usually 2 or 3% of that goes to your credit card company or to PayPal or to wherever. So, but the profit on that was about probably $4,000. Amazing, almost 100% margin. That happens almost nowhere in business. That's a great thing about an online business. Now, I said the first JV launch was $600,000. But the reality is I paid out half of that in commissions to my partners, so I made like half of that money. So still, it's pretty good. Same thing with 3.7. 3.7 million, that was the day that changed my life. It was literally 30 hours. 3.7 million. That literally changed everything for me. When I first started this business, I had this one, I went through this exercise of writing down the biggest goals I could ever imagine. And it was like going, it was having a really nice computer. It was like having a home with a great deck on two sides, so I always had sun or shade. Well, if you show that scroll cam, Dan, there's one of my decks here. So I got the great deck. It was very simple things. It was like having a reliable car. I wanted to go, I'm a big fan of whitewater paddling and whitewater rafting. I wanted to go kayaking in Ecuador in the winter. I wanted to be able to take the time off to go do a trip through Grand Canyon and do an 18-day trip through Grand Canyon on my raft. There's simple things, but I also put an income goal. And this was like an exercise in thinking as big as I could think, and my goal was to make $100,000 a year. That was the biggest I could think of back in, when I started this in the mid-90s. And here I did $3.7 million, and that came in about 30 hours. It's ridiculous. But again, I only made, we take out half of that for commissions. It's still a ridiculous amount of money. So when I say pouring gasoline on a fire, that's what this is about. Another thing is Dylan, he was just starting out. If you really listened, he sort of did a seed launch as a JV launch. Not recommended. It worked for him. JV launch, we'll get to that and how this fits into your overall business, but generally it shouldn't be your first launch. Okay, I sort of jumped ahead. I want to tell you how this works. First of all, you have all these partners, and they're all mailing into your launch, into your opt-in page. Remember? So you've already seen this diagram a few times. This is your opt-in page. So it could be any number of partners. So for instance, right now, for this master class, we've had, some of you have come in through, you never heard of me a couple days ago. You've never heard of me a couple days ago, right? But, I know like Denise and Mark Duffield Thomas sent a lot of you. I know that Kathy Hay sent a bunch of people. I know that Reed Tracy over at Hay House, good friend of mine, sent a lot of people. I know that Ryan Levesque has sent a lot of people. I know that Stacy Murphy has sent a lot of people. And there are literally dozens. So I'm doing this with dozens. It's because I've had time to build up. Why they're doing it? For the most part, well, they're doing it. We'll get to that in a few minutes, actually. But one of the reasons they're doing it is because they like me, because I've built relationships. Okay, so they mail into an opt-in list. Those people opt in to a prospect list, and this is your list. This is your list. Then you run them through the Sideways Sales Letter. So this is basically can be the same Sideways Sales Letter that you used for your internal launch. So if you first did an internal launch, you can reuse all of that work and do a JV launch. So that's why, another reason why I like to do that internal launch first. Dylan skipped ahead. He's like sort of a prodigy. He's like, a savant. He's become a launch savant, and it's just absolutely ridiculous what he did. He jumped straight to the JV launch because he's like, I don't have a list. I'm just going to go find a partner. So generally not recommended. Do the seed launch, do the internal launch first. You run it through. Then they come in here, and you make sales. This, you make sales. This is the same. You get the buyers. You get the launch echo. Now, the launch echo, in this case, is much bigger because you have all these people mailing and saying, you're awesome. You know, think about that. Think if you got a few of the leaders in your marketplace to email their list and say, go check out this person, they're awesome, right? So, I mean, are there any of you watching, I'm curious if there's anyone out there that, as of a few days ago had never heard my name, never heard of me, never heard of this launch formula, had no idea any of this existed, and then you got an email from someone else telling you about me, telling you about this masterclass, maybe even telling you about their experience with me, like folks on Kathy's list. I think she told you all about her experience with me. I've gotten to know Kathy pretty well. She's amazing. I love her. So all those folks talking about how awesome you are, and now all of a sudden you are seen as one of the leaders. And then the other thing you get is this list. So think about it. Say you had 5 people out there, and that mailed for you, that promoted for you. And that could they send an email, they could put a post on social, they could run paid ads. And they're sending people to you. But let's say that 5 of them, and there was 5 that had lists of 10,000 people. And can we all agree that there are people in the world that have lists of 10,000? You saw Elliot Connie yesterday talked about his list was much bigger than that. You'd heard Anne LaFollette talk about her list has now become much larger than that. So let's just say that five people had 10,000 people on their list, and they mailed about your list. Now, so that means they are mailing to 50,000 people about how awesome you are. Now, we're going to deal with, these are all made up numbers, but these are real world, realistic kind of numbers, in my experience. Maybe 10% of those people click through. So that means 5,000 people, not 50, you're not going to get 50,000 people come to your site. You have 5,000 people landing on this page. Not all of them are going to opt in. In a launch, getting a 40% rate of 40% of the people hitting this page to actually put in their email address is not uncommon. If I was doing it and you put, these days you can build such great opt-in pages for, with all the automated tools out there. And in a couple days, I'll send you my blueprint that's got all the recommended resources and stuff. But if 5,000 click through, 40% opted in, these days it's not hard to get a 40% opt-in rate. It's, you should get minimum of 35, hopefully up to 50%. But let's just say it's 40%. That means all of a sudden, in the span of a few days, you've got 2,000 people on your list. But that's just from PLC 1. Then you have them mail for PLC 2. Now, this time, it's going to be a little bit smaller numbers because some of them already clicked through and some of them opted in. But then you have them do it here as well. And frankly, you have them mail into your open cart as well. And so this 2,000 is like just for PLC 1. If they keep on pushing all the way through here, and if you do this right, they will, they do it 3 more times, maybe you end up with 4,000 on your list. Or maybe even, being optimistic, 5,000. So 5,000K. No, that would just be 5,000. Think about it. In the span of a few days, just playing around, made up numbers, completely made up numbers, but not unrealistic numbers. And it just comes down to getting these relationships. And all of a sudden, now, I will tell you that it's not unusual for me to have 40, 50, 60,000 people opt in for this masterclass. And the bulk of that, the great bulk of it, come from my partners. I've had one launch where we've done 90,000 people opting in. Now, some of you came in through some of my ads, and in my ads, I said, I've had 1 million people go through this masterclass. Well, this is how. This is how. Because I've got these partners that have mailed for the last 15 years. I actually have one partner that's mailed every single launch for the last 15 years. Ryan, he's been mailing every single launch for, I don't know, probably 8 years. Same thing with Reed. He's been mailing every launch for 8 years. I know Denise and Mark, this is probably their 6th year telling people about the masterclass. These are long-term relationships. That's one of the keys, is building long-term relationships with your partners. But that's how I've had 1 million people go through this masterclass. It's because I have partners mail, and it's this math just blown up bigger because I have more partners, and a lot of these folks have way bigger than 10,000 person lists. So this is absolutely crazy throwing gasoline on a fire. It is more complicated because you have to find these partners, you have to work with these partners, and you have to get them stoked about mailing. So now you're not only managing this process, but you're managing this process. And that it is significantly more work, but the numbers are crazy higher. So that's why I think you should do an internal launch first. You get this work done in the internal launch, you reuse your sideways sales letter, and then you can just focus on your partners. So Dan, I'm sure we have a few questions. Here, let me nail one of the questions. I know people haven't even asked, this will save you some time. Commission. You can set the commission at whatever you want. It's your decision. I think typically if you're selling an information-based product, anywhere between 35 and 50% is normal. Technology, there is a lot. How do you track this? Okay, I forgot one big thing. Why do they do this? They do this because when you make a sale here, you give them a commission. So when Denise tells you about this, the reason she's telling you about this is because she's used PLF to build her business. It's blown up her business in a huge way. So she loves PLF. In fact, Denise hasn't been here, but Mark has been out here to the secret headquarters, and he came out here for a mastermind with me. Same thing with Reed, same thing with Ryan, same thing with Stacy. Kathy was supposed to be here this year, but due to COVID, she didn't make it, but I hope she's here next year. So these folks have all been here in this exact spot. And we have a long-term relationship, so they like me, they've gotten results from PLF, they know it's a great program, they know it will help people, so they want to tell the world. But also, when we make the sales here, the software that I use will track where those folks came from, and then I'll pay a commission to the people to my partners that sent these people into my list. So we pay them a commission. 35 to 50% is sort of normal for an information-based product. The technology, there's many, many different ways to do this, or there's many solutions for tracking, but it's all automatic. I'm not sitting there trying to figure out who bought from what. It's all tracked electronically by your software. And I already talked about earlier on the margin drops. So there are costs involved, and you are paying commissions. So these numbers are much smaller, bottom line, but they're still ridiculously enormous. Okay, so Dan, I'm sure that took care of a few questions.
One other thing too that I'm just noticing, just scrolling through all these comments here, speaking about like why people would mail, is we have, I would say, dozens of comments right now who are saying that, so-and-so, this person sent me, and I'm so grateful that they did. And this was so awesome that they did, because this is just like blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the reality is, there's a few different, so if you're in this business and you've built up a list, so imagine, you're just in this world, and like Elliot or like Ann yesterday, you heard their stories. Ann's got 20-some thousand. Elliot's got 40-some thousand people on their list. They've been building a list over time. They have one thing they sell, or maybe they got two things they can sell. But the people on their list, there's other solutions. There's other things that they want a solution for. And if you can tell them about someone else's launch, you're actually helping the people on your list. And you have someone like Kathy. Her life looks radically different than it did a few short years ago before she came into my world. She should be and she should be so proud of what she's built. And she just has seen the results for her. She just wants to share it with her people. Same thing with Reed. Hay House, a huge company. It's a huge company. It's 10 times bigger than my company. Huge company, but Product Launch Formula has completely transformed their business. Hay House, the publisher. So they sell hundreds of thousands of books. But behind every book, they have a launch because he's become part of my world. So he's all about telling people about PLF. So if you put together a great sideways sales letter that really delivers value, people are going to love to promote for you because they're helping the people on their list. They're serving the people on their list. And oh, by the way, it gives them more profits. It helps their business. It rounds out their cash flow. So for Kathy, there are some people that she sent here that were just going about their life, just a normal everyday life, going about their life, maybe a dream of having an online business, maybe a thought of having an online business, but had no idea. And Kathy's like, well, I know what the solution is. They should just tie into Jeff's world, and then they can build an online business. So she tells them, and all of a sudden their lives are better. She's made their lives better. She's very upfront about her story and about why you should go pay attention to this. And maybe not everyone. So for those of you out there who don't know Kathy, Kathy has a business where she teaches historical sewing. I mean, her start was teaching how to sew corsets. You know, corsets. That might not, is that politically correct, Kristen? Can I do that? Corsets? Okay. So corsets, like, and so she just does this. She's amazing at her craft, and she teaches this very niche. You know, it's not sewing; it's historical clothing. She's amazing at it, and she's built an incredible business. She has an incredible membership. Doesn't have anything to do with business, but some of the people on her list, she knows, they could do what they're doing. They could be a business, or it could be a better business. So she's telling them about this. She's not saying everyone interested in sewing should go do this, but everyone who might have an idea of having an online business should go check this out because you can get great free training. And you know what? She actually might make a few dollars when her people join, or she will make a few dollars when people join.
I think you might have covered this a little bit beforehand, but honestly, after all that, I can't remember. So,
hey, let's all, can we all give it up for Dan? Because like his entire world fell apart there, and you can't believe the stress he was under to get to get our connection back up, to reboot the backpack, to get that up, to get we're running like 3 different feeds to get that all up. It was like he had a few intense moments there. So give it up for Dan, making it all happen. Yay.
Thank you. I saw like a comment of like, oh, I lost a connection or something. I was like, oh, their internet's not good. And then I saw like 40 of those comments and then checked and was like, oh no. Okay, so anyways, getting back to what we're all here for. So Cindy's asking, what is a reasonable JV commission percentage? Like on like a $200 product or a $2,000 product or a $5,000 product?
Yeah, I like 35 to 50%. You can make up your mind. You can decide what it is. That's the beautiful thing. When you're in business, you get to make the rules. So, but you're trying to attract. So they're going to tell people about you. Your partners you're trying to get them all in to promote for you. So what's a number that's going to be attractive to them? And remember that you want to be generous, in my opinion. You can do whatever you want. It's your business, your rules, but you want to be generous because these are people that have it's found sales. It's found money. These people on their lists would never have heard of you, and you never would have made a sale if they hadn't told their people. So this is the time to be generous. And also remember, the dollars, they might sound great. I mean, these numbers sound ridiculous. Dylan's numbers sound ridiculous. But even 3.7 million pales in comparison to the fact that when I did that launch, I've got almost 4,000 buyers. And the power, the long-term value of 4,000 buyers. Oh, by the way, I also got a prospect list of, I don't know, it was about 40,000 people. And the launch echo of all these people telling the world how awesome Jeff is, like, that is absolutely amazing. So the value you get goes so beyond the sales, you just want to be generous. So it's basically you setting it at a level that feels right to you, but also is attractive and feels generous for your partners. So again, on a digital product, anywhere between 30 and 50% is normal. You know, I would err on the high end of that to attract people.
Cool. Okay, maybe like 2 more?
Sure.
Okay, so this one's interesting. This one's from Mary. Mary says, what materials do you provide to partners so it's easy for them to promote and get all the information right?
A great question. You're jumping ahead to the advanced stuff. So what we do is we provide sample emails. Like we'll give folks, here's 5 different sample emails of how to talk about PLC1, and here's a dozen subject lines to use with those emails. And we suggest that people take them as inspiration and mold them to their voice and their market. In fact, we give a list, here's emails if you have a business list, but some people don't have a business list. Like some of these people over here, Stacy teaches about gardening. You know, so we give a lot of email copy. We give images. We give I think we give sample social media stuff, and that's about it. Sometimes I might appear on someone's podcast ahead of time. You know, for one of our top partners, I'll be on their podcast. I'll do an interview with some of their folks. So you just want to make it as easy as possible for them.
Awesome. Okay, I lied because we got another one that I want to ask too. So maybe a couple more
Okay.
now. So this one's interesting. And this one's kind of from the other side of the JV launch, but I think you could talk about this from both sides. What if I'm not sure if this is an actual name, Mr. Hello Mojo or Mrs. Hello Mojo, but Hello Mojo would like to know, what if you are bringing a course by another expert to your community under your brand and you're going to do the marketing? Do you bring the expert in on the pre-launch content? Do you just do it all yourself?
I'm not sure 100% so there could be a couple different ways. You could just promote if they have a product, you could promote their product, and then you're one of these people over there promoting their product and their launch. Or you could actually partner with them, create the product with them, have them be the one that creates the product, and then run through your sideways sales letter. There's a few different ways to go, and I do know that we have people go through this program that just they get so stoked about this process, they more want to be what we call a launch partnership. And they could be a launch manager or they could be a full-out partner. And frankly, when I did my first business, which is about the stock market, in that business, I actually had a mentor. And he mostly provided the content and I did the marketing. So we had a partnership, and that worked really well for about 8 years. So there's a lot of different ways to work this as a partnership if you either have the expertise to do the marketing, which hopefully by the end of this masterclass you do, or if you have the list. You know, yesterday I mentioned John Gallagher, who teaches about edible and medicinal plants and herbs. He has built up a big list and a big following, but he's not the expert on herbs. He goes out and finds the experts. In fact, he doesn't go out to them. He's gotten such a following now that he's got amazing experts that come to him that want to bring a course to him, and so he'll create the course. In fact, he just did a course on, what was that called, Dan?
Botanical mixology.
Botanical mixology. So how to make drinks, how to make cocktails with all these crazy herbs, and this is a course that was built under John Gallagher's brand, and he helped shepherd it, but Dan, he was not the person teaching it, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah, and Dan, the reason I'm asking Dan is Dan actually filmed the product for John Gallagher, because Dan, in addition to doing all my work, he also sometimes does other client work. So he filmed this with another expert doing it, John did, and then he launched it. So it was essentially an internal launch for him with someone else creating the product. So there's many different ways to slice and dice this idea of a launch partnership.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let's do maybe one more and then we can move on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And if you still got questions, guys, keep sending them in. I'm saving good ones, and we'll be coming back to questions later too. So don't worry if I don't get to you now. Okay, so this one's from Ellen, and Ellen's saying, I used to own a brick and mortar shop. I closed that shop 3 years ago, pivoted to teaching needlepoint in the online space. I wonder if I could use the JV launch with shop owners to scale my business, but I'm worried that they might see me as a threat to their businesses with taking students away from their classes. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't, so we have people that are in sewing, we have people in yarn, in knitting, in this market. So it absolutely works in this market. I don't know all the nuances of those brick and mortars and your relationships with them, and they might. The reality is that some people will see you as a threat and they won't be a partner. I prefer to look at, in this business, I look at people not as competitors, but as future partners. Whenever I meet someone, and there are people like, Ryan Levesque. Ryan, you could look at him as a competitor. I look at, when I first met him, I'm like, this is a potential future partner. And we've been fantastic partners for each other. Stu McLaren, could look at him as a competitor. Eben Pagan, you could look at him as a competitor. They're partners. Because the reality is we all serve slightly different markets in slightly different ways. So some of those people, those store owners, they're going to look at you as being competitive, but those aren't the people you want. And you heard Dylan, I think he approached a whole bunch of people. Do you remember, Dan, how many people he approached? I can't remember.
Oh, I think he said he approached somewhere like 100 or 50. It was a decent number of people though that he approached.
Yeah, it was a bunch of people. And Michael, who he was the one that talked about the seed launch. He's the musician. He also did a JV launch. And I think he said it was like 20 or 50. It was a lot of people. It's like if you want to go find your partners, do a search like in social for your topic. Whatever your topic is, who's ever publishing about your topic on Instagram, on Facebook, on Pinterest, or go to Google and do a search on whatever your topic is. Your topic, it might be whatever. It could learn piano. Go do a search and learn piano on Google. Go look at the piano teaching sites. Every one of those is a potential partner. You can reach out to all of them. All that takes is an email. It's an individual email that you write, but you send out 50 of those, and maybe you get 5 of them that say, yeah. And what Dylan said is he ended up with 1. But that 1 drove that first very sizable launch, and then it drove all those other launch after launch after launch. Because that first one, he had success. Remember, I talked about that launch echo. It might have sounded conceptual, it might have sounded fanciful, but it's real. And he did that first one with that first partner, and now he's gotten all kinds of partners, and he does $1 million launch after $1 million launch. So it's not finding, like I said, I've had dozens of people mailing about this masterclass, but this is a game of building relationships one at a time. I also have long-term relationships with my partners. Like I said, every one of these and many more have been here to my secret headquarters in Durango, Colorado. And the only reason Kathy hasn't is because we had this little pandemic thing happen. She was supposed to come here this summer. So this is not a game of will all those needlepoint stores promote, it's will one of them promote. That's the way it works. And if they don't, are there other needlepoint, I bet you haven't ever looked, but I bet you on Instagram there's a ton of people doing needlepoint. They have photos of their needlepoint. They've been publishing about their needlepoint. And when I say publishing, just putting up photos on Insta. Some of those people have developed a following. Probably some of those have never made a cent. They've never made a penny, but they've got big followings. If you sort of developed a relationship with them and started sharing stuff and messaging back and forth, and then a few weeks down the road, a month down the road, whatever, you're like, hey, I've got this course coming out. If you tell your people about it, they're going to love you for it, and I'll send you money if any of them buy. Some of them will. Some of them will. So those needlepoint stores, some of them might, one of them might, maybe 0 do, but there's a lot of other needlepoint people that are already online. And again, Michael, we had him talk to you about the seed launch, but he's also done JV launches. And he talked about, of these 20 or 30 or 40 people, he ended up just getting on the phone and having a conversation with them. He didn't have a business. He didn't have a product. He just got on the phone, built a relationship, said, I've got this thing coming up. I used to tour. I had some success at touring. I want to teach people how to tour as a musician. And will you want to tell people about it? And I don't know, a few of them did. One of them ended up sending 5,000 opt-ins. So this it's not a magic button. None of this is a magic button. But you build up a few relationships over time, and those few relationships drive your first one. That's why the first time I did a JV launch was 600,000, the second time 3.7 million. It was because there was 2 years in between there, and I spent those 2 years building more relationships. And boom, there you go. All right, so we should move on? I have one.
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, I got one more piece of how all this ties together. So you do your seed launch. What did we say you wanted to get? 20 to 30 people, okay? So let's just completely, I don't know what the market is. Let's just say it's learn how to play tennis. Learn how to have a better tennis serve, okay? Learn how to, improve your serve in tennis. And actually, a little public service announcement. So I'm a lifelong tennis player. I have, one of the joys of my life is I have this tennis foursome, and we've been playing together for almost 20 years. We've been playing, and we play pretty much every week if we're not traveling. And right now, this moment is when my tennis foursome is happening. So my 3 buddies they're playing as a threesome because I'm here with you. And I love being with you, and I hope it's obvious I'm pouring my heart out for you right now. But I'm not playing tennis. And I chose to be here, I want to be here, but I'm not playing tennis. So I'm giving up a little bit. So this is going to be just an outright ask. If you're on Facebook, hit the share button right now. If I've given you any value, if I've given you some value here, hit the share button right now. If you're anywhere else besides Facebook, just copy that product launch formula URL up in your browser. Just share that on Insta, share that in social. Take a photo of the screen, share it on Insta, share product launch formula, and send a few more folks my way. That's my big ask. That's the one ask. Hit that like button, hit that share, or hit the share button, and also share productlaunchformula.com if I've proven that I'm going to deliver some value here. So there you go. 20 to 30 people, not $20 to $30. We have 20 to 30 people bought your seed launch. Can you conceive of that? Is that possible? Say yes, it is. It's possible for you. So you get 20 or 30 people. Maybe you're going back to, let's go back to cake decorating, because I heard there's a drinking game going on. Every time I say cake, then you have to drink cake, 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 cake. There you go. So say you're selling your cake course. 20 or 30 people buy, and say it's, I know Kara's stuff is more expensive, but say first time she did this was $297. So basically $300. So if 20 people bought at $300, I think that's $6,000, which would be mind-bending, amazing. So now you have 20 or 30 buyers. You do the seed launch. You take all those recordings. Remember, you have video, you have audio, you have transcripts, you have Q&A, you have case studies now of people that bought a great cake, build a home-based cake decorating business. So you've got your product. So now what you do is you put together a sideways sales letter. The sideways sales letter, and you offer the product via an internal launch and a sideways sales letter. Now remember, you built up, how big was your list that I asked you to build? You built up your list to 200 to 300. Okay. Now, what happens, this might seem magical, but typically when you're first starting out in a launch and you're doing your first launches, you will build your list through your launch just by sharing the value. So you had this minimal sideways sales letter that built value. Often just doing that launch it attracts word of mouth, and often your list might grow. It might double in size, and you might be at 4 to 600. And also you take a couple months, and between finishing this up and going to an internal launch, it's going to take you a couple months. That's the reality. Remember, there's hard work. There's work involved. You're building a business. You're building a life. So in that time, you continue to grind away and build your list, just like Elliot talked about. I just wanted to get 100, and I just wanted to get 500, then I just wanted to get 1,000. So you build your list, and maybe you're at, say, 400, but you've built your list. Let's just be optimistic and say your list, after a couple months, your first launch, seed launch, you're up to 1,000 people. Now you do this internal launch, and this internal launch, you made 6,000. It was amazing. People actually buy from me. The moment I made my first sale and I realized people would buy from me, life changed. So now you do this internal launch, and this internal launch with a 1,000-person list, maybe you make $10,000. Numbers are made up. These aren't income claims. These aren't promises, but it's possible. Okay, when you do a full internal launch with a full sideways sales ladder, this often happens. You will double your list. Now, once you have really big lists, when you have 40,000 on your list or 100,000 on your list, you don't double your list with an internal launch. But early on, when you have a smaller list, like 1,000, you often will. So you do that 2,000, you do that internal launch, you do the sideways sales ladder, you build great value, and you know what happens is you'll start to get noticed in your industry. Because the players, the people that are already in your industry, they're always watching for who else is starting to publish. And often, this is how you attract a partner. By doing this internal launch, you might start to develop relationships. And again, it took you a couple months to get here. In this time, this is a time to build relationships. People see you publishing, and maybe you get a few partners. And so you take the work. So here, you're taking the product you built, and that's your product for your internal launch. Here, you take the sideways sales letter that you built, and now you have a proven launch, and you can talk to partners about this proven launch, and maybe 1 or 2 or 4 or 5 people promote in your JV launch. And all of a sudden, your list, maybe it goes from 2,000 and it's up to 10,000. And maybe your launch does, maybe it does $30,000. And you're like, oh my goodness. Like, what did Elliot say? It felt like $9.4 billion. So you do that launch. Now, in all this publishing with these people on your list, they end up telling you what the next product they want is. And you're like, oh, wow, I hadn't thought about that next product. I was teaching people how to have a great tennis serve. I didn't think they would want to know about doubles strategy, but now people are asking about doubles strategy. So I'm going to create a course about double strategy. What's the best way to do it? With a seed launch. But now instead of doing a seed launch to 200 to 300 people, you're doing a seed launch to 10,000 people. Now, I don't know what your sales are going to be, but they're going to be a lot bigger than they were here. Again, I'm making all these numbers up, completely fictional, made-up numbers. But now, say you do a seed launch, and this seed launch could be $30,000 to $50,000 at this point. You're going to take in more than 20 or 30 people. Maybe you take in 100 people. Maybe it's 100 people at $500 or 100 people at $300 or something like that. This seed launch is a heck of a lot more impressive than the first time around. But you've built a second product. Now you built that second product, and that second product, Once you've built it out, you do an internal launch for that one. And then can we agree that the second time around, you've got more experience, you've got a bigger list, and the dollars will get much bigger. And now, instead of publishing to 2,000 people, you're publishing to 10,000 or 12,000 people because you're starting to build up momentum. And now you attract a few more partners, and maybe you have twice the partners, and now you're adding 20,000 new folks to your list on top of your 10,000, and this launch is so much bigger, and that leads into your next seed launch, or might lead into your internal launch. But this is the way you get to know your market, you build your list, you build your authority, and this is launch stacking. This is how you stack one launch on top of the other. And this circle is what we call the circle of awesome, because it is awesome. This is what's taken my business from those 6 sales up into tens of millions of dollars in sales. Ta-da, circle of awesome. And I have to give props to Dan with the circle of awesome because, years and years ago, I was first describing this. And I think I just said, I don't know how that came about, but what's your memory of that, Dan?
I don't know. I remember there being a whiteboard.
Well, yeah,
I
we were at the
remember there
whiteboard.
being I remember drawing some circles and then being like, what should we call this? And we're like, circle of awesome. And then it was just like, all right, done, moving on.
Yeah, a moment of silence descended on the two of us at the whiteboard. The circle of awesome, awesome, awesome.
Oh, that's right. There was an echo effect originally.
Yeah,
I think when you were teaching this though, and you kept, you'd say the circle of awesome, maybe 10 times within 5 minutes. It got a little annoying to be like the circle of awesome, awesome.
I always thought of it like the monster truck rally. When they have those monster truck rallies, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, we're
Yeah.
2.5 hours in. We got to entertain ourselves in some way.
All right, so I think we got some people to hear from, right?
Yes. So if you want to I've got an example for you of someone. So like I said, I open up this masterclass once a year. We do this masterclass. I open up registration for the Product Launch Formula Coaching Program once a year. This year is not, none of us are living the year we expected. And so in the middle of March, when I'm just like everyone else, I'm sitting at home and I felt like the world was crumbling to pieces. And I was sitting there and I was like, I was just like everyone else. First I was just watching the news and hitting refresh and just like, I cannot believe what's happening. And then at some point I'm like, okay, if I'm a leader in this market, and hopefully I am, leaders lead. And it's time to show up and lead. And I know my people, they need me because the economy is getting crushed. And the one thing I know is online business is where the world's turning. And so this is late March. And I just went to my team and I'm like, we just have to just drop the most massive value bomb on the world that we can. And how do we do that? And I'm like, we're going to do a masterclass. And it's going to be scrappy. It's going to be ugly. We didn't have our fancy backpack at the time, so we had to borrow. It was actually Dan's house. We borrowed his house. I did this master class in a space about a quarter this size. It was in his kitchen. We were literally, some of you were there for the pivot edition of the master class. That's what we called it. We did the pivot edition of the master class. I think it started right at the very beginning of April. And we just went all in on how can I deliver the most value possible and give people the most leadership and guidance and get them started, because we're in a different world right now. So went all out on this launch, which we called the Pivot Edition, and it's sort of funny. I called it the Pivot Edition of the Launch Masterclass. Now I'm looking around and everyone's doing a Pivot Edition of them. That's the funny thing about being a leader in the market is I get to see. I do one thing and everyone does it.
They literally format the title of the everything the exact same way we do. It's the something masterclass Pivot Edition. It's come on, guys.
So anyways, we did the Pivot Edition, And it was a crazy experience, but it was great for me because it allowed me just to dive in and work, like get to work, because I was sick of sitting around and watching the news and reading. You remember what it was like in March. So I was like, I'm going to work. There's one thing I know I can do. I can go to work, I can deliver value, I can help people. And so we did this pivot edition and we opened up the Product Launch Formula coaching program. And one of the people that joined there in, I think it was April 15th, by the time we got it all done, was Jana. And I want to share Jana's story with you. I'm here with Jana Morishima, and Jana has a remarkable story of having to pivot in the midst of this pandemic, of starting a business in a very small niche, of taking very quick action and getting some amazing results. So Jana, welcome to this call, and thanks for joining us. Yeah. So could you tell folks a little bit about yourself and about your market and about your crazy pivot?
So I am a literary agent, but I actually just started this business. I started it in January of this year. I was a children's book editor in the past, and then I went through various twists and turns in my career, but decided in the fall of last year I'm going to take the plunge, start my own business as a literary agent, and so that's what I did in January. And then come March, coronavirus happened, and I was in a really tough situation because my husband, who is the main breadwinner in our family, is a wedding photographer. And so his business just evaporated. In fact, it went negative because brides and grooms were canceling their weddings and they wanted their money back. And being a literary agent is a kind of work that has a very long lead time to actually earn money. So you work with authors and artists over a long period of time, get their book projects ready, then you have to send them to publishers to try to sell it, and that whole process takes a while. Then you have to negotiate a contract, that whole process takes a while, and then you have to send it through their accounting to finally get paid. So it literally could take 9 months to a year to get paid for work that you do. So in March, when all this happened, I was terrified, honestly. I mean, like, just, I can't even talk about it. It was so terrifying. And I honestly thought, like, maybe I need to find another job. So I was starting to reach out to people, but at the same time, I was thinking, like, I have this sense that I could teach an online course because I know so much about the industry, about the children's book industry, about the specific niche of graphic novels, because that's my niche, and about running a small business as an artist, because that's essentially what I was doing for my husband when we worked together on his photography business. So it was sort of like putting all of this together into a course that would teach authors and illustrators how to build a career, kind of like soup to nuts. That was my idea. But I was really scared, didn't trust myself, and I remembered your name. I was like, I know there's this guy, Jeff Walker, who teaches about how to launch. And I know I've heard really good things about him, and I think I'm on his email list. So I went into my Gmail and I Googled your name, Jeff Walker. And then your email came up. I was like, I'm doing this pivot launch on Facebook, which I'm not even really on Facebook, but, and it's starting tomorrow or something. Like, it was literally like the next day. So I just joined it.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that part of the story. Amazing. And so this is all, and oh, by the way, just to let everyone know, you're in New Jersey, right outside of New York City. So in March, you're ground central for everything that's happening with coronavirus. And your husband's business, or your business as well, not only goes to zero, it goes negative because now you're having to give deposits back to people. So cash flow is going in the wrong direction.
Oh, it was horrible.
And so we did that pivot edition of the masterclass. And normally I only do this masterclass once a year, but because of the pandemic, we decided we had to help people out. So we did that in early April. So the timing worked out well for you. You joined.
Oh, so perfect.
Yeah. So you joined Product Launch Formula in mid-March, mid-April. And then you and I actually had a couple of conversations on the
Yeah.
coaching calls that came with PLF.
Yeah.
And then you jumped into action.
Yeah. So I knew I had to make money really, really fast. And I was calculating in my head, like, okay, how fast can I launch while still actually producing the high quality material that I need in order to launch successfully? And what happened is that originally I was scheduled to go to this conference that was sponsored by the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators of Nevada in Las Vegas. I've never been to Las Vegas before, so I was excited about that. So I was supposed to go there in May, and then of course, because of coronavirus, the conference got canceled. But I thought to myself, I wonder if I could reach out and offer to do it online, because then I would be talking to this exact audience of people that I am thinking about for this online course. So I reached out to the organizer and I asked her if she was interested, and she said, yeah, that would work. So we set it up really fast. I think I talked to her, and then 3 weeks later, we did the webinar. And so I gave the webinar, and at the end I said, hey, I'm teaching this free masterclass. If you're interested, sign up on my email list. And that's how I got my initial email list for my seed launch, essentially.
How big was that email list?
It was about 150 people.
Okay, so 150 people, and then you went into just a classic seed launch. And you're doing all this while you're taking the Product Launch Formula course. The product launch, you're not
Yes,
even all the way
same
through
time.
the course yet. And you do a classic seed launch to 150 people. So could you walk through that process?
So I designed the launch to be one live video masterclass. That's what I called it. I think it was how to build a successful career as a creator, which is the exact topic that I teach in my online course. And so, I did what you taught. I gave tons and tons of value throughout the course. I had 77 people who showed up live for the webinar. And then at the end of my content ran for about 1 hour. And then at the end I did Q&A, and that lasted for 45 minutes. I was answering questions. So people were super excited and super interested. And I announced, okay, I'm teaching a program now that actually goes super in depth into everything that I've taught you in this masterclass. And I opened the cart and I left it open for 5 days, and I did what you did. I emailed every day. Of course, this is what I was doing in those 3 weeks beforehand, planning all this stuff that I was going to be doing in those 5 days. And then I taught the class on a Wednesday. I closed the cart on Sunday, and I had 27 students sign up.
27 students out of an email list of 150, where 77 showed up for the actual masterclass. So just for everyone watching, those numbers are really strong. To have 77 out of 150 show up is very, very strong. And then to have 27 sales out of 77 is a fantastic conversion rate. Jenna, what was your price?
$350 a month for 3 months. So it's a 3-month course.
Yeah, so right around just over $1,000 total.
Yeah.
So amazing. So, and then I think earlier when we were talking, you said you also had some people hire you for basically coaching, coaching
Yes.
calls.
Yeah.
And so what was the total result from the launch in terms of dollars?
It was almost 24,000, I think.
Wow. And the timing of this was, when did you do when was the actual launch?
It was in May. It was at the end of May, because my course began the very beginning of June. It was June 1st or June 2nd or something like that. Yeah.
So you joined Product Launch Formula in the middle of April, and by the end of May, you've done a launch of almost $24,000. What was that like? Must have just been, and also amidst Western civilization falling apart.
Well, I guess my back was truly against the wall, and in a way, I'm grateful for that, because I think that maybe I wouldn't have done it if it hadn't been such a desperate situation, which is terrible to say because now that I've done it, I am so glad and so happy, and it's been an amazing experience. I mean, all the people I've been working with, they're so special to me because this is the start of a really new journey, and I can tell there's just so much potential. I'm so excited and love it so much, but maybe I never would have done it if it hadn't been for coronavirus, honestly.
Wow. And here we are, as we're talking, it's the middle of August, and you said just today is when you delivered your last class.
My last lesson, yep.
Wow. And now you've got your course built. What does that feel like?
Wow, well, it feels great, but of course I've gotten so many ideas by teaching the course. That's I think for a lot of creative people, this is why I understand authors and artists so well, is you have too many ideas, and so I have to put the blinders on and get really focused and I'm definitely teaching it again. I'm going to launch again in October, and I will do a more classic internal launch this time. I have a lot of ideas. One thing I wanted to say is one of the things that you taught was about uncovering objections. So, and I followed your formula to the T in my own way. So what I did is, before I taught the master class, one thing I've been doing is doing a free office hour where any author or illustrator who's in my group can join, and we just chat about whatever's on their mind. And so in the office hour that I had immediately prior to doing my master class, I told them, you know what, I'm planning to teach this course. I'm going to launch the program. I was just super honest and straightforward. I told them what I envisioned it would be like, and then I just stopped talking and let them talk back to me. And of course, they start basically talking about what their objections are. Well, is it going to be right for me if I'm just getting started, or I already have been published multiple times? Is it going to be right for me? And all those types of things. And I remember writing in my journal afterwards being like, oh my gosh, Jeff Walker was so right. They basically gave me every single objection in that one call.
That's fantastic, because it strikes me that you don't strike me as like an amazing someone who's like a car salesman, someone who's just had years of experience selling. You don't strike me as that person.
Well, no. I think your philosophy, that's probably why I'm very attracted to, the way that you teach, because I feel like it really is all about human connections, one-on-one interaction with people, and just making a transformation for an individual human being. So that's what I'm trying to do.
So what, since now you almost $24,000 and like that, a very compressed amount of time, you've continued to build your list. Where's your list at now, and what are you thinking about coming into October? What are you hoping for there?
Well, my list right now my list is like 600 people, I think, 600 or 700, I'm not sure. And then I have this online community. It's a free online community, and that community has about 350 people, and it's super targeted. So that's like my exact target audience is in that online community.
Yeah, and so, you said you're going to launch in October. Do you?
I'm going to do an internal launch.
Yeah. So an internal launch for everyone watching, as opposed to the seed launch where Jana actually sold it before she created the product. Now you've created the product, and you're going to do a full launch now. What are you looking forward to from that launch, or what are you expecting from that launch?
Well, I haven't put all the pieces in place yet because there's a possibility that I might be doing a webinar for a very, very large audience. It's connected with the New York Comic Con. So if I can get that in place, that would be around October 8th. Then I would basically follow the same model I did before, where I do a webinar, I tell people, hey, I've got a free training coming up, get people to sign up for the free training, and then go into the internal launch.
So, Jana, final question. Obviously, you've been through a lot. You've completely reinvented yourself. You've reinvented your family's income. What would, there's going to be a lot of people watching this, as you know. There's going to be a lot of people that are watching this that are wondering if it could work for them, if it's going to work in their market, if their market's big enough, if they aren't a marketing person. Could this work for them? What would you say to them?
I would say you have to walk toward your fear. You just have to walk straight into it. It's gonna feel very uncomfortable and scary, but just do it anyway.
Jana, thanks so much. This has been great.
Thank you.
Is that ridiculous or what? Goes from, did you catch that? Like her husband, primary income, business not only completely went away, but went negative because they had to give money back as a wedding photographer. Absolutely crazy. She went from thinking she was going to start a business as a literary agent in January to like in March, like, oh my gosh, we need money, to April, joining PLF, to May, doing that launch for $24,000, absolutely ridiculous. Her niche is children's graphic novels, teaching people how to build a career around children's graphic novels. She's like, how fast can I launch? Love that. She did it with one PLC, that's the classic seed launch, just a single PLC where she delivered value and then made an offer. She did it live. You can do it via video, you can do it via email. She chose to do it live. She had 150 people on her list, 27 sales, $24,000. I love this. She talked about they're so special to me. It's just about making a transformation for a single human being. And that's, a lot of times we talk about a list and you think about, you know, I just want to have a bigger list. I want this. The thing you have to remember is those people, the list, there's people. They are people, and you're talking to people. And if you've ever wondered about like making an offer, or you remember yesterday we were talking about some people think marketing is yucky or slimy or sleazy. They don't want to market. They don't like marketing. It just makes them uncomfortable. She was just said it's about making a transformation in a human being's life when among those 27 people. Her list went from, remember I talked about how you build a list by doing a launch? Her list went from 150 to, she said she's around 600 or 700 now. That's by delivering value, by starting to build that momentum in your market. And she did it with one PLC, one live Zoom, I assume it was Zoom, where she got on and shared value, made an offer. And because of that, she went from, end of May doing the launch to 150 people to now having a list of 600 or 700. She's got an internal launch coming up in October. And remember when I talked about the launch echo? And I know sometimes that just people are like glance over the launch echo, but did you hear she might be in front of Comic-Con? Now, I don't know the Comic-Con universe. I think it was like one smaller sub Comic-Con or whatever, but she got invited to freaking Comic-Con. Or actually, it sounds like it's still in the works. But that's a launch echo. You get out there and you make this offer and deliver value and do a launch, and you get crazy things like that happening. And that will completely blow up her business. And I just loved, you got to walk toward your fear. So I got to talk about a few things right now. First of all, we do still have a super secret segment coming up. We also have, after we wrap up, the after hours session in the Facebook group with JT and Barry. If any of you were in the after hours yesterday and you thought that was a worthwhile investment of your time, we're going to do it again today. If any of you enjoyed being there with Barry and JT, it's a different feel, but they'll give you the in the trenches view. Put it in the comments. Give a shout out to JT and Barry in the comments for the after hours. So that'll shortly after we wrap today, then they will they'll go. And they'll be in the Facebook group, the Launch Masterclass Facebook group. If you're not in that group yet, you can join them on the concierge page. Right now, the concierge page is sort of taken over with this broadcast, but after the broadcast, there'll be a link in like the upper right, to join the Facebook group. To go join the Facebook group. And yesterday, JT and Barry answered questions for like an hour and a half or something like that. Long time. There was a guessing game in our team Slack to see how long they were going to go. So they had a lot of energy pent up. They were ready to go. So super secret segment coming sometime today. Then Barry in the after hours in the Facebook group. And then, we got disconnected. We lost our feed. We were down for a while. So that put us a little bit behind on time. So I have a case study for you we're about to show right now that is ridiculous. It's another completely different market, just a remarkable story. But I also had planned on another case study for a physical product that I think you're going to love. And so we're a little behind on time. So let me know in the comments, we could cut that last case study. So let me know in the comments, vote yay or nay on that last one. It's a really solid, it's an awesome one, and it's about a physical product, and it's great. But we are running a little bit late. Wanted to let you know because we had our technical difficulties, so let me know in the comments. And let's go to Jonathan.
Oh, okay. You know what? Actually, I just want to say something quick here.
Okay.
Because I think that you left something off of your list. I think you left something off of your list there. I heard Janice say something that I thought was pretty cool, which was just do what Jeff says. And I thought this was funny because she's not the only person that said that. Like, we filmed a bunch of case studies over the years, and I would say like 80% of the people are that's like one of their biggest things that they say is like, they're like, honestly, like a lot of people try to like, oh, I'm going to put in just a bit of this formula to work, and then I'm going to try to figure, I'm going to tweak some of this other stuff. But they're like, the biggest thing that I do is I don't try to tweak anything. I just do what Jeff says.
Yes, Janet did say that. That was very sweet of her. And there is a place where you can bring your own flavor into this. And that is probably after you build up a little experience. But everything I'm teaching you, I've done dozens, I don't even know how many launches, but dozens of launches. And also I have students that have done thousands of launches, and they report back to me. And so what I'm teaching you is from experience. It works.
Awesome. Well, also just to let you know, we've got a lot of people, we've had a lot of questions today, actually, about physical products, how to do physical products. And I'm just seeing a whole lot of comments here, people saying that they'd really like to hear about they'd really like to see the case study with some physical products.
Okay, so we'll roll this one, and then we'll quickly go into the next one, and then we'll put a wrap on it.
Sounds good. Should we go to that now?
Yeah. I'm here with Amanda and Jonathan Texera, and they have a really cool launch journey they want to tell you about. So Amanda, Jonathan, could you just tell us a little bit about your business?
Certainly, yeah. Well, thanks for having us. So our business, Wallet Win, helps people figure out how to use their money. So we help people get out of debt, build wealth, and change the world through generosity. We do that through just covering the basics of personal finance education. So what mom and dad should have taught them, but didn't, probably because they didn't know either.
Very cool. So I remember a couple of years ago, you were at PLF Live, our big live event. You guys asked a question, and you shared a little bit about what you've done. So could you just talk about like where you started and how you use PLF and what happened next?
Yeah, so our story really began just over 2 years ago. I found your workshop, Jeff, and we had kind of had someday we wanted to launch this crazy business thing, right? Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of success paying off debt in our early marriage years and saving and investing, and people were kind of just seeking us out for coaching, and we started getting speaking gigs. So I saw your workshop, took it, and you taught about the seed launch. So that summer, we kind of put out on social media channels like, hey, we're gonna like test this personal finance thing. We didn't know what we were doing. All I had was what you taught in that workshop. And 80 people said that they'd be interested in beta testing this thing. And when we opened doors, just for that little tiny seed launch that summer, we had a 31% conversion and we brought in over $3,700. So we were like, okay, I think that this thing's got legs. But it was still like, we have to create it and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it was more just an exploration of a hobby at that point.
So
And
with those people though, we kind of beta tested it. We just ran it live. It was rough. And they kind of just helped us flesh the ideas out. And they knew it was going to be a lot more dust than anybody else would see, but they were helping us get it off the ground.
Yeah.
So fast forward a few months.
yeah, so we went through the beta launch, we figured out what worked, what we needed to change. And then again, it was still like, we'll get to it when we have the time or whatever. And then, then PLF, like the workshop came up again.
The live
The
launch.
live version of it. We went through it that time, and then that time we thought, we should really know what we're doing about this. So we bought Product Launch Formula then,
Yes.
started working through it, and then it was maybe 2 weeks into it, on a Friday afternoon, 3:15-ish, my boss walks in and says, hey, do you have a minute to talk? And it was the old, hey, that thing you're working on, we don't want to do that anymore. And because of that, we don't really need you around here anymore. So here's a box for your stuff.
Oh, no.
So, okay, well,
Well, we've got this PLF thing, and I've been working my way through the videos. And we were going to launch officially like someday
At
when we
some
got it all
point.
cleaned up and polished. And then we realized we've got 6 weeks of paychecks coming. And now we're good at saving. So we had
yeah.
personal savings, but we didn't want to have to touch it.
Mhm.
And so we worked our tails off, strapped an iPhone to the top of a computer and started recording our videos.
Yep.
And
then
6
we
weeks later,
launched in 6
we
weeks.
had a launch. And in that launch, we had about 330 people opt in. And we made 9 sales and then a couple upsells. And it brought us in about $6,000.
Yeah. So it was like, all right, I think we can do this. And then we just kept kind of just diving in full time on WalletWin, keeping it working, serving our students, finding ways, ways to monetize and just new launches, new offers and all that. And just we were able to keep going.
Yeah, and I mean, we just couldn't believe that we literally created a business overnight out of thin air. And I remember your story, Jeff. You called yourself Mr. Mom, and it just related with me so much because I was home with the babies. We had a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old at the time, and life was pretty chaotic, but I wanted to find a way to contribute and use my skills in the world, but also stay home and raise my babies, and I wanted Jonathan to come home with me. And so the fact that in 6 weeks flat, this all came
worked.
together because you gave us the skills and training. I mean, I was just in complete disbelief.
Yeah, because that was the worst part of me working. I'd leave before they wake up. I'd come home, we'd eat dinner, and then it's practically bedtime. So I hardly saw our kids except for the weekend. And I just didn't like living like that. And so through having a course, through knowing what the heck to do to sell the thing with launches, we're able now to have that part of the life that we want, of spending time with our kids, of doing meaningful work and helping people, and we get to have it all.
Well, first of all, congratulations on that turnaround from that Friday afternoon at 3:15 p.m. and getting laid off. You were talking a little bit about my story of when I started way back, and hoping to get my wife home, and I was taking care of the kids. But also, I had that Friday afternoon call one time with my first business where I had a partnership, a very abrupt partnership breakup, and I had to, on a Friday afternoon, I got a call like that, and that sets you back, emotionally. That's a big deal. It's a big transition. So, congratulations on making that. What did that feel like to go from just to the wind getting taken out of your sails to 6 weeks later having that launch that did $6,000?
It was a heck of a feeling. I mean, it's that thing. I mean, that's the thing I always heard about, or you see on TV or in a movie. The boss comes in and it's like, as it's happening, I'm thinking, okay, I have to make that phone call and tell Amanda what's going on. and it felt terrible. And then I think what we were trying to, I don't know why, I think I had my bag from when we were recording something. I had a voice recorder and a mic, so I mic'd myself on the way home that day. So it's in a podcast episode of ours, the day Jonathan lost his job. And when we listened back to it a year later, and it was incredible because it's just like, all right, this kind of sucks, but we're gonna move forward, and I guess we're going full time on Waltman, and it's gonna work, and it's gonna happen, because that's what's gonna happen. And I think I had that confidence there because right, and you look at the future, and especially with this kind of figuring out the future, it can be a lot of just fuzzy images, a lot of fog, a lot of question marks, but we had our way forward. We were still learning it going through the course, but we had that way forward of, okay, we have this thing, and we're gonna do it this launch, and we're gonna do it this way, and we've kind of done it before, and now we're gonna really do it, and why wouldn't we see the success?
Yeah. I would say if we had not enrolled in the course, Jeff, I think he would have just gone and gotten another job. We would have postponed things. And now knowing what we know, that would have been the worst mistake ever, because you just have to get going. There's just never a perfect time to go and to launch. And so we're just really glad that we had that shove and that we had the right resource to land on to make that next pivot.
That's fair. I'm getting chills. Jonathan, when you talked about recording yourself in the drive home, that was giving me chills.
Yeah, he's kind of dramatic like that.
That's awesome. Congrats. Well, can you but I imagine you guys get chills in thinking about the people that you're working with and the impact you're making. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, we love sharing our student stories because, in the beginning it was like, all right, this worked for us and it's worked for a couple people we've coached, but will it work for all of our students? And it's just incredible to hear their stories. We have a gal in our course, she's a single mom and a school teacher, and she joined our course with $60,000 in debt, and she thought it would take decades to pay it off. She's raising her 3 kids and she has a school teacher's income. But she started doing what we teach her, and in the first year alone, she paid off $37,000 in debt. And she's almost debt-free and gonna be able to buy a house. And she thought that was a pipe dream for years down the road.
Yeah. We have a girl, another girl. She wrote into us and just saying, we kind of asked her a couple questions of how's it going, is it working, and then she said, yeah, you know what, it's really working. I saw Waltman start working when I had my emergency savings established. I saw it working when I wrote that check for over $1,000 to pay off that IOU. I saw it working when I was able to follow this medical advice that my doctor gave me, and I could because I had the money to do it. I'll see it working when I know that I'm going to be successful. I'm going to
be able to retire,
retire, give generously, change the world through that generosity, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this. And this girl, before she enrolled, was going back and forth with us on email. And was just all these questions, and I don't think I could ever do it. I don't think it's gonna work. And I've tried these other things, and now she's doing it. Now it's just again, total transformation in not just her financial situation, but how she's going through life.
Right. So because money touches everything. So we just love seeing not only those financial wins that our students are getting, but how it ripples out.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of the financial wins, I've got so many questions. That $6,000, you guys didn't stop there, right? Where has it gone since then?
We did not stop there. We would
couldn't stop there.
That's why I like to say your first launch is never your last launch.
No. So fast forward from that very first one, we tried different things. We did some webinars here and there. We did a flash sale and just kind of, found different ways to monetize. And we introduced a membership into our business. So we kind of had a 1-2 punch there with the course and then this membership. But then a few months after we were at that conference, PLF Live, actually maybe just a couple of months later, we found out about a surprise adoption situation. And the price tag we were given was somewhere between, $15,000 and $30,000.
And this baby's gonna be born
in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So we were like, what? Okay, we want to grow our family, but we're just bringing in enough just for ourselves, which is a feat in and of itself to just go from 0 to 60 and have an income to support a family of 4.
Yeah, but we need to get up to 75.
But we need to go a little farther. So I remember writing into the PLF alumni Facebook group, and all of a sudden, these alumni were just swarming around me. And they were like, we're going to craft a game plan. We're going to figure this out. You're saying yes. We're going to, they're all confident. And I remember just like shaking as I read some of these ideas they had and having some of these conversations with them. But we thought, okay, they're smarter than us. They've been around the block. We'll do what they say. And so over the next 6 weeks, baby's born in 8, right? So we had 6 weeks before we needed to open that cart. We plotted and planned this launch, and it was an imperfect launch, but we brought in over 1,100 people onto our list, and we had an 8% conversion because we told our story that we needed this money to adopt, and we were, this was it. Help us. We'll help you. You help us. Let's lean on each other. We had a killer conversion rate, and we brought in just enough to wire it straight to the adoption lawyer. And a couple weeks later, we welcomed our 3rd daughter, Eleanor May, into our family.
Oh, congratulations. Congratulations. That's amazing. Incredible story. So that first launch, what was it? It was 80 people or something like that. And now you just added in. Can you talk about, because this is something that holds people back, is they worry about having this list and not having a list and not having a big enough list. So you talk just a little bit about the growth in your list and how you've grown it and how that all worked. Because you started from scratch.
Yeah, right. We started from 0, from nothing, from our Facebook profiles. I mean, which is essentially nothing.
Yeah.
So it was just I feel like it was just this staircase. I mean, you hear about some stories where it's just this huge skyrocket, but we've always had very young children. And so we put boundaries around how much we're going to work, because we can never get back the little years. So yes, we probably could have gone faster than we've gone even in the last 2 years, but we guard that and we protect that. And we're so happy that our business is allowing us to say yes to that, because that's the most important thing. But with that said, we've also grown a lot. And so, it was 80 people in the beginning, then it was 300. Then that next launch, it was about 1,000. Then, it just kind of kept going every few months. And I think now we're sitting at a little over 4,000 people.
Yeah, we just wrapped up a launch this week. So, the Post-it notes are people who joined us from this launch. And just that launch alone, I think, added, 2,000 people to our list?
It doubled
And
us.
so, sure, launches are great for, selling your product and making money right then. But we've seen the benefit on building the list, because we've seen, there's people out there, they dive into the workshop, they're ready, and then they buy right then. But we've also had a lot of people we see, it takes a little while. You gotta warm them up a little longer. So getting them on the list, if they don't buy, that's not a loss. It's still a win for us, because as time goes on, the likelihood that they make that purchase just goes up. So we've seen that, and so we're always happy when we do a launch, when we just see that number in our email provider just go, so it's a great feeling.
That's awesome. This has been quite the journey for you, from that first launch and losing your job and just turning it around almost immediately to adopting a baby and having that constraint of 8 weeks, and boom, we're going to launch. So congratulations. And
Thank you.
It's amazing. And my last question is, where are you going now? Where do you see the business? What's it like being home, Jonathan, and being able to both be there to raise the kids? And where do you see taking the business now?
I'd say, just to start, in some ways, the most important thing, it feels amazing to be home, to see the kids, where they're just not missing me, right? Sure, you come home from work or whatever, or from a trip away or whatever, and get the running into dad hug, that's great. But what's even better is the after lunch clean up the dishes hug, or the put you to bed every night hug, or all those things. That's amazing. And so, like Amanda said, we're continuing to be thankful and to structure things so that we have this time together with our family. We can eat all our meals together, kiss, say hello in the morning, kiss them goodnight at night, and do that all together. We're not just, missing. Nobody's just at work all the time. And we're growing to, now we're expanding, in some sense, like our product line, different courses we're in the midst of developing right now to just, grow our our audience, a little bit, just kind of blob out until we just start
Blob
taking,
out.
just that ever expanding ooze that's just going to eat more and more of the market as we grow. Maybe you have a more succinct or less gooey way to say it.
A classy way, yeah. This fall we're actually working on a new course, and it all, all the pieces fit together. And it just feels good to know that we didn't have to master that all in the beginning. It was just the first thing. And then as you go, you can kind of add more, and you get more experience. And in the beginning, we didn't know what we didn't know. So now, as we come to the table with that education, we're able to kind of craft the right offer and have more confidence behind it. And then you talk about, Jeff, that launch echo. And so we've just had, just in the last 6 months, people are now approaching us, looking for partnerships, looking for a joint webinar, looking for us to come speak at something. And, I just think that's all part of that launch echo, which is then going to help us on that next launch, is these other opportunities that have come to us because we had the credibility of the, kind of branding ourselves as the experts in the launch. So, yeah.
Jonathan and Amanda, thank you so much. It's been great to hear of your progress. Congratulations on so many big milestones. Congratulations on your family, on your adoption. Thanks for sharing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff.
It's our pleasure.
I love that case study. I mean, these case studies are like my children. I love all of them, but that one is amazing, incredible. The Eleanor May launch, their third daughter, to finance the adoption. They had 8 weeks to do it. It was imperfect. They leaned into the PLF community. This has every single piece. And I didn't cue her up to talk about the launch echo. She just did because it's such a big part of our world. They're in personal finance, and Jonathan gets laid off, and they're like, okay, time to go all in. He said, I would have gone and gotten another job, but now instead they're home with their family. Absolutely amazing. I love that Amanda said there is no perfect time. There is no perfect time. You just have to get going. And then all the way through, they just kept on talking about how their list grew every time they launched. Really what they were talking about was the circle of awesome and how the business keeps on building as they launch. They get better at doing what they're doing. They get better at teaching. They get results. And it just keeps on feeding into list growth and feeding into the next launch. So it's absolutely amazing. Okay, we're going to move right along. I know a lot of you have physical products. You know that emoji of the exploding head? The exploding head? Well, get ready for the exploding head emoji because this one is amazing. So I'm here with Blaine Hitzfield, and a lot of times people wonder if PLF works for physical products, and I think we've got the answer for you here. Blaine, welcome to this call. I really appreciate you joining us. And could you just tell us a little bit about your business?
Yes, I'm happy to be here and join you here, Jeff. So I grew up on a farm. I'm a farmer, and we direct market the products that we produce here in our farm to consumers. We make home deliveries to their homes, and so it's a real farm to fork food experience here. I farm with my 6 other brothers, so that's the name of the company, Seven Sons. It's a family business here, and I came across your material, Jeff, through a mutual friend, and I didn't expect what would happen after we applied what we learned. So
cool. So could you just talk a little bit about because you're not just like a regular farm, you do some really cool stuff. So
exactly, we're super passionate about what we're doing here. So on our farm, we're in Northeast Indiana. So if you were to drive, we're flyover country, if you were to drive out here, all you would see is corn and soybeans out here in this area. And you might see some big barns filled with all kinds of animals, confinement feeding animal operations. Well, you come to our farm, what you're going to see is 500 acres of sprawling pasture. It's like a ranch in the middle of corn and soybean country. And we've, come to our farm, there's 7,000 chickens out on the pasture. I mean, just sprawling out on the pasture. And so we collect pasture-raised eggs from those hens. We raise cattle out on grass and sell grass-fed beef to our customers. And we also raise hogs here on the farm. And they're also all outdoors. So no animals inside. And so, we're in a day and age where the average person has no clue where their food comes from. And we're basically bridging that gap, telling the story of what we do to our customers, being transparent about what we do. And we've got a lot of happy customers. And like I say, very passionate about what we do, connecting people to their food source. That's in giving them confidence in what they're eating. That's really what we're in the business of doing, is giving people confidence back with what they eat. So
very cool. So, and I could just see a light up when you start talking about what you're creating. Love it. So 2 years ago, approximately, give or take, you came into my world. And could you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was crazy. I was noticing, I was following a few folks that I was getting some consulting from, and I noticed that several of them were following this very specific email marketing. Like, it felt like a method, and I really liked it. I appreciated it. It brought value to me as I'm learning from these different folks. And it was through one of those folks I was following that I heard about this product launch formula. I'm like, I think this is the actual formula I've been trying to figure out. And I think this is who started it and taught it. So I of course signed up for your course, Jeff, especially after going through the pre-launch content. It was so valuable to me. And so signed up for your course. And I'll just be transparent. I wasn't aware of the information marketing world at that time. And after I signed up, I realized, well, I think this is product launch formula is really meant for information marketers, and we're in the physical product business, e-commerce business, and a farm to boot. And I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work for us, but I invested in the course, and I didn't want to go back to my other brothers here on the farm and tell them, hey, I invested in something that I don't think is going to work for us. So I thought, I'm going to give it a try. And we also, so in addition to the products that we raise on our own farm, we work with a fisherman up in Alaska for wild caught seafood. And I thought, the salmon run had just finished. We just got a fresh shipment of salmon in from Alaska. And I thought this might be the perfect opportunity to just try a launch. So during our pre-launch, like a week leading up to before we opened the cart for the fresh salmon for the season, I sent out a series of emails and videos just educating customers about the benefits of wild caught salmon, telling the story behind the fishermen that we work with. And at this point, I'm investing a lot into this pre-launch. I'm like, I have no idea if this is going to work or not. But we finally sent the cart open email to our customers. And I went to bed that night, and I thought, wake up in the morning and see what happened. Well, we had gotten in like 2 pallets of salmon from Alaska. By the time I woke up in the morning, it was half gone. And I'm just watching the sales just tick. And I call my brothers in to look at the sales reports, and they thought I was crazy, getting all this pre-launch content ready. And they're like, this is crazy. This works. And so I'm getting on the phone. I'm calling Captain Tony up in Alaska. You've got to send more salmon because I'm going to be out in a couple hours. So we're scrambling around. I have to go to his warehouse in St. Louis to pick up a couple more pallets of salmon. And by the time that was a 5-day event, it was really cool. Each day we introduced a new type of salmon. So we started off with sockeye, and then day 2 we did keta salmon. Then we introduced some other wild caught seafood in that same week. And so it was really fun and interactive for the customers. But get this, so just to give you a couple numbers, up until that point, we were only moving like $750 of seafood per week. That was just kind of our average, just kind of trickling along. Well, that week we went from an average of $700 in sales in seafood to $38,000 is where we finished out the week. $38,000, just one launch, and that doubled the entire amount of sales we had for the year. So in a 1 week launch, we doubled the total seafood sales that we would typically sell in a year. So,
Oh,
and I'll add too, that was 2017, fall of 2017, as soon as I learned about the launch formula. And a year later, we did our 2018, we call it our Wild for Seafood event. And we 2x'd last year's. So again, so
wow.
crazy.
Amazing. So first of all, you've probably heard me say my goal is for, not a guarantee, but my goal for PLF owners is to make as many sales in a week as they normally do in a year. So you doubled that, and then you doubled it again.
And doubled that number the next year. Okay.
That's amazing. Did you think Captain Tony has ever gotten a call like that? Like as soon as he shipped?
No, Captain Tony, I mean, he was just as excited as I was. He's like, he's like, what, how did you do this? And I explained it to him, and he was still just couldn't believe it. He's like, there's gotta be something more you're doing. Like, no, it's called a launch, Tony. He's like, well, I'm just gonna launch my boat. You launch your marketing email. So, but
that's amazing. And like I like to say, your first launch is never going to be your last launch. So you did that 2 years in a row with the salmon, but you've also done it with your other products.
Yeah. So I skipped way ahead there to the next year, but so it wasn't. We did that in October 2017 was the seafood launch, and of course we thought we've got to try this again. Was it a fluke, or is this going to work with other products? So we every year. Usually around November, December is when we harvest the majority of our cattle, and we have a lot of premium grass-fed beef all in the freezer. The freezers are full, so it's harvest season. So I thought, well, here we go. Here's another story we could try to tell about the product and about the seasonal nature of what we do and why the winter is a good time to stock up on beef. So we did. We came out with our beef harvest event, and that was just in February. So just a couple months later, we came out with pre-launch content, and a lot of this content was just telling the story behind our farm, our beef production practices, actually taking my camera, my phone, walking into the freezer, showing them all the inventory, just educating them about why we would do a launch at this time of year. And so we thought our seafood sale was good. At that time, February 2017, we were averaging around 13,000 in beef sales per week. By the time we got through that launch, we had done 128,000. So from 13,000 average weekly sales to 128,000 in beef sales. And the guys in the warehouse here, I'm down there packing orders. Literally, I get off the emails, I get off the computer, I go down there, I'm packing orders that entire week, and talking pallets of beef shipping out the door. So that was just a couple months later after the seafood launch. So this has changed our philosophies about marketing. It's changed our entire business, and really pushed us to an entire new level. As I was mentioning before the call, we actually hired a launch manager because now we're doing 5 to 6 launches all throughout the year because of the different products we raise. It makes sense to do a seasonal push on those different products. And the pre-launch formula is just perfect for telling the story behind our products before we do the actual launch. So.
Wow. So the beef launch was like a 10x what you would normally do in a week. If I remember right, from 13,000 to 128,000, if I'm remembering right. Congratulations, it's amazing. So a few questions. First of all, if I'm getting this timing right, that first launch for the salmon was in October of 17, and you got PLF in September of 17. And actually it was late September, if I remember when our launch was. It was like the 3rd week of September. So within a month, you were able to put that launch together for the salmon.
Yes. It was immediate, yeah. We had the course, got the information, and basically just pivoted real quick and did, and you know what, Jeff, we didn't execute it perfectly. I mean, we were using MailChimp at the time, and we're now, since all this, we've advanced to some pretty cool email marketing stuff. But, we just did it simple. We didn't have any segmentation put in place at that time. We didn't have any technology to see who placed an ordering pattern. We just did it simple. And I'm just glad, I'm just so glad we just started and tried it and got it off the ground. It that was the most important decision, was just putting the information to use and getting started with it.
And so I thank you for that, because people they can not hear that message too often of just get started, just move. And so you're using video. And I imagine like you probably weren't a YouTube video star before this. So
No, no, we're farmers here. We're just telling a story and being transparent about what we do. And that's too what I really like about PLF, is that it was a way for us to to get really just provide a framework for telling our story. And at the end of the day, like after we've done like 6 launches, we still have customers asking us to launch other products that we haven't launched yet. So they're actually asking us, can you apply this to other products that you haven't done it yet with? So they're asking for more launches. So it's a very genuine way to engage with our customers, tell more of the story, and provide more value to them. And at the same time, it's obviously a win-win for everybody. So
very cool. So, and now you've actually started, you're selling courses, or you're moved into the information world as well.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've just taken what we've learned in internet marketing and how do you apply it to a farm who's trying to do a direct marketing sales model like we do. And we've had, over the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a little bit of a following of other farms that have seen what we're doing and watching what we do. So we decided to put together a course that not only spoke to some of the marketing models that we use, but also the economic models behind what we do. Because farming is, especially at a small scale like we are, we're beating the odds in our business and our scale because of what we're doing. So we had a lot of farms, small farms, that wanted to learn from our economic models and production models. So we put together a course. It would have been just earlier this year. And we had acquired an email list of farms that were following us. And we launched that course to them just using the PLF formula. And that was right around a $70,000, $80,000 launch for the first course we've ever done. And so it was a course priced between about $1,000 to $1,500. There's a couple different options there for students, but that was just as exciting as the very first seafood launch, because that was our first content information marketing product. So that was very rewarding to be able to launch a course and training to help empower other farms with our models. So that was exciting.
That's awesome. Congratulations. So there's going to be a lot of people watching this, and a lot of them have a physical product, some and are wondering, but a lot of them, I think you're an inspiration to everyone, whether they're selling information, selling a membership, selling a service, or a physical product. So a lot of people are, just want to get started, and you are an example of moving and getting started. So final question, what would you say to them, the people that are sitting at home thinking, could this possibly work? Should I do this? Can I have an online business? Can I have this type of business?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I think it was you that said it, Jeff, in one of your training videos, is that I think you asked the question, when's the best time to plant an oak tree? I think you said, well, the best time is 40 years ago, but the second best time is today. And that really spoke to me, which is why that inspired us to put what we learned into practice immediately. It's something where, nothing ever happens without action, right? And so I just encourage everybody that's taking this course and considering it. Looking back, Jeff, the investment that we put into your course is the value was incredible. I never would imagine we would have gotten the value that we got out of it, because not only did it give us a formula, like a cut and dried formula to follow, but so much of your training is just principles of marketing that we apply all across our business. And ultimately in 2018, and one of the reasons that we signed up for the course, Jeff, is because we were struggling with our marketing before that. I was looking for, new marketing models and information. And after applying what you learned, it totally took us to a new level. And in 2018, just last year, our business grew by $1 million. And I know I can trace it all the way back to PLF. it all started from there, and it just opened our world up to a whole new level of marketing. So I appreciate that, Jeff.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate the work you're doing in the world. Congratulations. Absolutely amazing results. Well done. You know, none of this happens without hard work and getting started. So thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, Jeff.
Blaine Hitzfield, he's like, we're farmers. We sell beef and seafood. We're calling up Captain Tony. Send more salmon. Absolutely amazing. So with the salmon, that first launch, which was, you heard how quickly he did that. He went from, it was an email-based launch. No video, no lives, just pure email. He went from doing $750 to $38,000 in a week. He doubled his sales, and then the next year, the next time they did a salmon launch, he doubled it again. He said, we moved fast. We were imperfect. We're just farmers. And then did you catch that piece where he went, now they're doing a digital product. So this is what I see, is a lot of you are asking about physical products, which is awesome. Maybe you have a physical product that you're truly in love with. And you just saw how he did it by telling the story, right? He told the story of the creation. He told the story of Captain Tony. He told the story of the benefits. There's the launch. So he did launch after launch, had great success. And then it's like, wow, boy, all of a sudden he got an idea for a digital product. So a lot of people, even if when you have a physical product, you get into this world, it's like, wow, I could do a digital product. I could add a digital product. So that's what they have done. Just love his story, love his story. We're going to have another physical product story for you tomorrow that's equally amazing, equally mind-melting. Dan, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we do. Okay, I'm going to try to whip through some of these kind of quick maybe, because we are running long. How about this one quick from Trish about JV launches? Trish is saying, can you have a JV partner that's in a completely different industry from you?
Yeah, you can. Like I mentioned, you're probably not on Kathy Hayes' list, but she teaches about, well, I don't have it on this page anymore. She teaches about historical sewing. She teaches people how to do sewing of historically accurate period clothing. Kathy, I hope I got that right. So that's a completely different market than my market, but she's telling her people about it because she's had great experience with the PLF world, and she wants to share it with her people. So completely, radically different markets, and yeah, she's been a great partner.
Awesome. So real quick on this, because I know you could talk on this for a while. We do have some people who are asking about artists. Like, how would you sell, if you're an artist, how would you use PLF?
You like that coaching that Stan's giving me? It's like, shut up, dude. We've been going for a long time. So this does work. We've got lots and lots of artists. In fact, the last time we did one of these types of things, we were featuring so many artists that we started to get the question that was like, okay, I can see this only works for artists. No, it works for artists. At some point, we're going to show you Mary Gilkerson, who uses it to sell collections of paintings. We have people using it to sell photos. It absolutely works for artists. And so it's generally a story of either the artwork, the creation of the artwork, your creation, because people will find you fascinating as an artist. People find artists fascinating, and they find your process fascinating. And Mary also generally has a piece of like what art, owning a piece of art will do for your life, how that will change your life, the opportunity to have your life changed by becoming an owner of this artwork. So she tells the story that leads into it, and then it's like, boom, here's my collections available, and has had radical, amazing results.
Yeah, I actually even saw down a little bit further down in the comments, there's a PLF owner in the comments who is saying that he uses it as a photographer and sells out collections or sells out art, sells out like photo sessions like months out in advance. Okay, how about this one from Kakuri? says the prices in my space are pitifully low. An online spinning class for making yarn from wool with 2 hours of video content are generally in the vicinity of 20 to 50 pounds for a 2-hour video course. 2-hour video thing. Should one stick to the established price range? If adding a personal live element, surely that raises the value?
I would agree, it does raise the value. We do have people in the yarn space that I actually know, PLF owners that I've gotten to know. So I really don't know too much about knitting and yarn, but I do know they are pushing the boundaries. So generally, when you do a launch, the Sideways Sales Letter, when you go back all the way back here, this allows you to price at the top of your market. And so at a minimum, you're going to be able to be at the upper end of your market. And it allows you to push the boundaries. So Susan Garrett's one of a pillar of our community, of the PLF community. She's a dog trainer. And most of the time, dog training products are in that $20, $30, maybe $50. And she's been part of the PLF world since 2008, I think. And she now sells at the $1,000 price point. So other people are selling $20, $30. She's selling at the $1,000 price point and having incredible success, amazing success. And in fact, I think we've got a case study with Susan that we'll share at some point. But this allows you to build so much value. The reality is, there are automobiles that sell for, I don't know what the most inexpensive automobile is. What do you think, Dan? Cheapest?
$16,000?
Okay, $16,000. There are also cars that sell for $50,000, cars that sell for $100,000, cars that sell for $250,000, and I know there's cars that sell for a lot more than that. So there's obviously a great range. When the buying experience you would have if you were paying $250,000 is probably a different buying experience than for the one for $16,000. When you take people through this process and show the value and build the value, that puts you at the upper end of the market, and it allows you to push the upper end of the market, and it allows you to serve people better. It sounds like to me you're not just selling your average product. You're doing a live. You're coaching them. You're delivering more value. At the end of the day, this is about delivering value. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, this one's interesting. This one is, this one actually is going back to kind of, we were talking about yarn a little bit, is Simone. Simone says, thank you for a great masterclass. I'd love to know how to apply PLF to retail brick and mortar stores. I'm particularly interested in fashion retail and is just starting to sell clothes online. Not sure how to drive online sales.
So I am not an expert at retail sales, but I will tell you that Shelly Brander is another one of the stars of this PLF community, and she had a store, a knitting store that sold yarn and all the other kinds of things you need when you knit. And what she did, she said it was a nice business, but it was a seasonal business. And because it's a seasonal type thing, and it's hard to have a seasonal business. And what she did was she created a club, an online club, where each month people would pay her, and she would send a physical package of yarn plus the pattern. And so every month people were getting set up with yarn and a pattern so they could make something beautiful. So she went from brick and mortar to a digital, and what she did, because she had this monthly club, all of a sudden she has monthly sales, and she took the entire, that monthly or the seasonal fluctuation and got rid of that. And then she expanded that into her Knit Stars product, which was a completely digital product. So another example of someone selling a physical product that says, this selling online stuff is cool, and I can probably do it as a digital product. So she created her Knit Stars and has had enormous success with that.
Awesome. Okay, so we've been going here for quite a while now, and I'm thinking maybe we wrap up here so we can get to our super secret segment soon.
Yeah.
A lot of people are still with us.
Yep.
Okay, how about one more here? This one's from Heidi, and Heidi's got maybe a little more personal one, saying, how do you eat that frog time and time again? How do you keep focused and on track after facing setbacks, self-doubt, and the naughty devil on your shoulder whispering negative comments in your ear?
So the reality is we all have negative comments running through our head. We all have doubts. We all wonder. We have moments of doubt. And, you know, especially if you're watching this and you're thinking about building something for yourself, building an online business and how amazing that could be, or maybe you're a creative person, then I think we're a lot alike. And we tend to have bigger ups and downs than the average person. I think that's the way we're wired. Most of us, if you're still with me after all this time, we're wired that way. And, you know, there's a way, you know, you can go into this self-doubt and say, oh man, I've got such a long road, or I've had these setbacks, or yeah, I can see it works for selling beef online, but I'm trying to sell chicken online. Or I can see it works for teaching you guitar, but I'm trying to teach ukulele, so it won't work for me. You can make up all these reasons. You can have all these voices come in the I can't. You need to decide that you can. And you know, I remember when I just it was desperation for me. When I was starting out and I had these various ideas that I was taking care of the kids. I was home with 2 babies, my wife supporting a family, and I'm thinking, this has got to change. This has got to change because we're barely squeaking by, and Mary has got no time with the kids because she's getting up in the dark and driving to work and coming home in the dark. Something has to change, but I haven't made a penny in 5 or 6 years, and I've got these different ideas, but I'm never moving forward. And then I just remember one time, and I was actually out in front of the house, and I remember this because it was such I don't know why, but I was cutting the grass. I was going back and forth cutting the grass, and I'm just like, enough. It's going to change. I am going to change. I am going to make a move. My life will be different from this moment on. And that's when I went in and I wrote that newsletter, that first newsletter I told you about yesterday. Because it's easy to get caught up in the 1000th step or the 100th step or all those things that are in front of me and these negative thoughts. But the thing that is easy to do is to take that first step. And just don't worry about the 10th step, the 20th step. Take that first step. Then take the next step. And take the next step. And take the next step. And they're not all going to be perfect. And now, every now and then you're going to get kicked back. And you're going to have to take those steps again. But I like to think about baby steps. And if you've got children, you raise children, or you've been around children, you know when they go from crawling to walking, first they pull themselves up on something. And then they decide to take a step. They've seen these big people around them taking steps. And they try to take that first step. And they fall down. But babies, they don't say, oh man, I tried that walking thing and I fell down. I'm not going to do it anymore. Babies don't do that. They get up and they try that first step again. And they fall again. And they try to take that. But they look around. They see people are walking. So they keep on trying. And eventually they take 2 or 3 steps. That's what this is about. It's about taking that next step. Not what is that step 3 months from now? After I've done a seed launch, what am I going to do? Will I go straight to an internal launch or will I go to a JV launch? After I do my first launch, how long till my second launch? After I get 5 subscribers, what do I do next? The next step. This is a proven formula. This works. I'm trying to give you overwhelming evidence so that when that voice starts up, it's like, no. There's like unbelievable, overwhelming evidence that this works. Worked for Jana. She just did what Jeff said. And then the other thing I would lean into is you need people around you that are supporting you. Because if you're just out there in the middle of nowhere, in your you're socially isolating, and the only people around you are maybe have never had a business, never built a business, never done this, there's plenty of naysayers. I know when I started out, I was like, people were saying, oh, can anyone make money online? Is that even possible? You need to lean into the community. And that's why, one of the things I've been doing, is pushing you so hard to leave comments here, because we got a community building in the comments. So you can see. And the reality is when I open up PLF, the coaching program, one of the things I want to do is, if you choose to go forward with me, it's not going forward with me. It's going forward with this community. And just getting an embrace, a big, warm embrace from this community. You see Julie is a massive cheerleader in the comments. You see Kara in the comments. You've seen Luis in the comments. Who else have we had there, Dan? I mean, it's just like...
Oh, Kathy's in the comments?
Kathy's in the comments. They're there
Lisa's
because...
in the comments?
Yeah. They're there because they want to welcome you into this community. They know that we're better together. They know that we're stronger together. No one does it alone in this business. The best thing about this business is it's just you and a computer. That's all it takes. Frankly, you could do it with a phone. All the tools you need are already on your computer or really on your phone. I'm more of a computer person than a phone person. I'm older, right? But you've already got all the tools you need. There's a camera on your phone. There's a camera in your computer. You can make documents. You can do screen captures. Everything you need is there. So that's the greatest thing. Everything you need for this business, you've already got. Just all you need is you and a computer, you and a phone. The worst thing about this business is it's just you and a computer. That's why you need a community. That's why I go so deep and I invest so much and I work so hard to build a community to support you, to just wants to welcome you and just takes this nice warm blanket and wraps it around you and says, welcome home, welcome home. So I love this question because at the end of the day, we're all our own worst enemy. That's why I do these case studies, just to show you overwhelming evidence. You can have an online business. You can have it. You can have everything it brings you. It brings you, you can work anywhere you want. You can work with the people you want. You can work with the clients you want. You can build your income to whatever you want. You can go crazy like I did and build an empire. Have a great big team, have fancy cameras and lights and all that's here, or you could just do it like Blaine did his first one and sent out a few emails. Like Jana did and just did one quick live. You can do it as simple or as big as you want. You don't have to do it like I did it. But you can have that online business and you can define the life you want, the lifestyle you want, the income you want, the impact you want. You can have the security of having a business no matter if things get crazy with the virus, right? You can do that. But you just have to take that first step. Thanks for joining me for lesson 2. I'm sorry we went long. We had some tech difficulties. And I wanted to slip in that extra case study for the physical product folks. But thanks for joining me. Tomorrow we're going to be back. I'm going to show you the one piece I've held back, and that's how you actually make the money, how you actually make the sales and get new clients in. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be teaching how to make the sale with the open cart. It's going to be I'm going to make it a shorter session tomorrow. And thanks for playing along. For those of you stuck in all this time, for those who stuck with our tech difficulties, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're going to have a great day tomorrow. Remember, Barry and JT are going to be in the Facebook group with an after-hours session. And someone told me we're actually still going to have to do a super secret segment. So thanks a lot. I'll see you tomorrow, lesson 3. Okay, super secret segment. Thanks for hanging in. I know we went long, so I'm going to be super quick here. Just wanted to get tactical on the getting of the JV partners. And I want to talk about my experience, and then I actually have a little thin slice of Kara talking about how she got some partners and how she worked with partners. And so I started off publishing about the stock market. That was from 1996 until 2005. But in 2003, I went to my first marketing seminar. And actually, it was my second marketing seminar. And I started to get really excited about marketing. I mean, I was already excited about marketing because I'd figured out this whole launch process, and I really was stoked on it. And frankly, I was more stoked on that than about the stock market, even though I still had this business published about the stock market. So, but I went to a conference and I just started networking, which that means just like hanging out at the back of the room and talking to people. And frankly, it often means going to the bar and talking to people. And so I started like networking, and just, you know, and everyone's like, what's your business? What's your business? What's your business? I'm like, oh, you know, I got these newsletters about the stock market. And they're like, okay, cool. And somehow I mentioned that I just done this launch that did 6 figures in 7 days. Like, you know, that was my first 6-figure launch. It was like $106,000. And I mentioned that to one person, and that person's like, oh my goodness. In fact, that one person, some of you might know, his name is Frank Kern. We just happened to be sitting at the back, you know, leaning against the back wall, drinking a beer. And he's like, no way. And then he mentioned that to someone else, and that other person became like a champion like of mine. So getting champions is a cool thing if you go to a conference. And I mean, it's just about being cool and adding value to people. But this one person, he started going around telling everyone about, at this conference, about Jeff just did, you know, hey, you know that guy over there? He just did more than $100,000, and there started to be this little itty bitty buzz going on about me. Like people were starting to talk about this because at that time that was unheard of. You know, I went to the conference not thinking I was anything special, not thinking I didn't know that making $106,000 in a week was special. Doing a launch was special, but then people started talking about me. And so then I just started building a relationship with those folks. And then over the next, you know, few months, a few of them were like getting ready to release a new product. So I'm like, hey, you know, I'll jump on the phone with you. I got on the phone with them and talked through how to do it. Talked through, yeah, this is how to do it. And back then, launches were just email. You know, do this, turn your marketing into an event, boom, boom, boom. And a few of them started to do it, and they started to have success. And that built up the reciprocity, and it built up the authority. All those mental triggers that I talked about can also apply to partners. I didn't mention that. That's why this is a secret segment. All those mental triggers can work with finding and recruiting and working with partners. So this is all still 2003, and built those relationships, helped them out. Then in 2005, when my original business sort of melted down, when I had a partnership breakup, when my partner stole the business, I was like, you know, I think I'm ready to build with the stock market. I want to start teaching about marketing. And I had all these relationships and friends that I'd built up, and some of them that I'd helped. Some of them became very prominent in the market, and they became my partners. So when I shifted from the stock market, this is between say March 2005 and when I launched in October 2005, when I first launched PLF, really what I'd been doing was I've been building value for potential partners it was really at that time years. And frankly, some of them are still partners to this day. And so that's just a little, I mean, every journey is a little different in this business, but that's just how my journey went. I think one of the best ways, and you know, sooner or later there will be live events again, you know, post-pandemic, and I think going to live events is a great way. Networking with people in social is a great way, but not like random, just garbage direct messages, but actually build value for people. And that was sort of my journey into my first JV launch. Now, we got Kara queued up?
Yeah, we do.
So this is going to be just a little quickie of Kara teaching how she did it. And you've been hearing me talk about cake decorating. Ta-da, here you go.
Hi, I'm Kara Andretta. I own Kara's Couture Cakes, and I serve home-based cake decorators. I've run a number of JV launches, and I learned so much in my second ever launch, which was a JV launch. And going into creating a JV launch was a totally different mindset because I had this established product, which I would definitely suggest having something that's already been proven so that your JV partners take you seriously. And I realized that it was even more about my JV partners than about me. And I had to get them as excited as I had to get my audience because I also wanted their audience. And I realized that the more excited I was able to get them through communicating, through offering reward programs, of course, you know, paying them a portion of you know, the sales they drove, the more excited they got, the more they wanted to talk about it with their audience. And the beautiful thing about getting them excited about you and your product and the fact that they can offer this thing that they didn't have to create to their people is that that builds their authority too. They're helping to build mine by recommending, they're trusting and recommending their people to me and build my audience, build my list, increase my influence. But also they become a source of a really good product and something that is going to enrich their people. One of the best things about that launch, other than the numbers, which I'll share in a minute, other than the numbers, was the community that it truly built. It was fabulous to have these people come into my world, into my space, and talk to me about, many of the JVs were my friends, but talk to me about, you know, their experience there and how it's amazing that, you know, we're so aligned and, you know, it's great to be able to trust this circle of people who clearly, you know, have the same values. And it really built all of us in the industry and kind of raised all of us collectively up as authorities, as resources. And it just became kind of like a feeding frenzy, almost like with fish, like you drop some things in and all these fish come from all over. And so it kind of became a feeding frenzy around all of us for a number of months, not only around the launch, but even after. All of our lists increased. My list during that launch increased by 6,000 people. So my launch list was 6,000. I only contributed from my main list about 400 people. The rest of the 6,000 came from social media and my JVs. And, you know, with the product being $397, I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't, because I knew that I was asking a lot of home-based cake decorators, and my JVs were a little, you know, they were a little bit cautious. Even though it was a proven product, they were still a little cautious, but they mailed for me anyways. They talked about me on social, and we ended up closing at just a few dollars over 90,000 on that JV launch to home-based cake decorators.
There you go, Kara shedding some wisdom on really the mindset behind a JV launch. And I know that's, for many of you, that's several steps away, but you know, I just thought I'd share a little bit about how it worked for me, and you saw how it worked for Kara. So thanks for sticking around for the super secret thing. Hope that some tactics on the actual JV launch would be of value to you. Lesson 3 comes tomorrow. That's where this all comes together. And you learn about making that sale, about actually making the sale. It's going to be super hot. It will be shorter than this session. But if you haven't had enough, we have JT and Coach Barry about to go live in the Facebook group with a little bit of after hours. If you were around yesterday, I was listening in the background, and those guys were hilarious and giving huge value bombs all the way through. So go to the Launch Masterclass Facebook group for an after-hours session with JT and Barry. Thanks so much for showing up. Lesson 3, we're going to be more compact. We're going to be tighter. Hopefully our internet connection doesn't go down. It's all about making the sale. And when you make that first sale, your life will change. We'll see you tomorrow.